Thanks for joining us here on the Great Man Podcast. I'm your host, Harley Fox. Today on the show, I'm joined by Cameron Niven. Cameron was a MP in the Australian Army, but he saw the light, got out, and now he's working as a lawyer. He's built up his knowledge and experience over the years since leaving the Army back in 2014, I think it was, and went to law school, done a couple of master's degrees in law since then. So he's very knowledgeable in the space, and now he's working with current serving members, assisting them with their legal battles that they may be having in the Defence Force. He's doing really good things for the community. Great chat with Cameron today. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Thanks for being here. This podcast is brought to you by BAC, Baldwin Advocacy and Claims. The Grey Man Podcast is proud to partner with Kai and his team. More about that during the show. Cameron, welcome, mate.
Thank you kindly. This is terrifying.
I get that feedback a lot. Mate, I had a guy on yesterday. He'll be the week before you, so everyone, Frez from last week, he was sweating bullets. Like, he lifted his arm, he's like covered in sweat. He's like, I'm freaking out right now.
It's not that bad. It's just I don't often get in front of cameras for my work. I often just sit behind a computer screen with a keyboard. So
I do that for most of my work too.
Yeah.
in the editing studio. Yeah, man. Well, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Happy to. I've had quite a few friends reach out and say I should probably do it, get the word out.
Oh, nice.
Spread the word about the sort of the work that I do, but also just give my story too. So unnerving as it is, we shall progress.
You'll sink right into it. I was out camping the other weekend, and you were like, "Oh, enjoy your camping trip," and I was like, "The only person that knows I'm here is the person I'm with." I'm like, "Do you know Niv?" And he's like, "Yeah, you met him at one of those dinner nights." I'm like, okay."
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I remember you from the motorbike.
Very, very secretive in my approach. Silent even.
Yeah, enjoy your trip. It was funny because I'd actually got a text message from a friend on the way to that camping trip. They're like, "Oh, enjoy your camping trip," and I was like, "How the fuck does everyone know I'm going camping?"
Stop telling people.
They no, I told nobody. That's the point. It was just me and Tomo, and then she's like, "Oh no, I just drove past you I saw you drive past."
He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah, Tomo. Yeah, he's a good egg. Cool, man. Well, you were Army MP. Give me a little bit of service history here, which is good. We can make sure you tick stuff off.
Made it short. It's a very short career, which sort of in part.
What do you mean? You gave me 2 A4 pages.
Well, there's other stuff that's going on, but yeah, it was very sort of truncated. You know, probably a bit more explosive administratively and discipline-wise than other people's. You know, I was in flash in the pan. It was in 2012, out in 2014.
Oh, really?
Administrative termination.
Did you? I got admin.
Yeah.
Oh, first time over here.
Probably the first military police too.
Yeah, I've had a coxswain, but first MP, yeah.
So I was March 12, 2012, I joined up, went into 12 platoon, 1 RTB, came out 24 platoon. Half of my platoon got back squatted. I ended up doing, I think, 7 or 8 months down at Holsworthy at Green Hills, which is Defence Police Training Centre. 2nd of December 2012, posted into 1MP Counsel. Spent almost my entire sort of career in that one location, with the exception of going, exercises with 1, 2, 3 RAR and 2 Commando for a bit, and then got punted out on the 14th of October 2014.
Yeah, right. Well, let's go back to the early days. You're a Kiwi, first Kiwi too.
Oh, mate, what a treat. Wonderful.
So many firsts.
Mate, good. Both parents are Kiwi, born there in Christchurch. Just got back from there last week. I think you were camping and I was hiking.
Oh, nice.
Synced up well.
I've been to Christchurch once. Pretty rough from what I remember.
Still rough. Still rough, yeah. So the entire city CBD is still, there's just these big vacant plots, and if you walked around, you'd think, oh, they've really planned this well to give you a lot of good walking space.
Yeah.
It's not.
I remember doing a lot of walking.
It's where buildings used to be, but, they're on the rebuild. There's still insurance claims being fought over who's liable for what. Building 1 fell into building 2, which then fell into building 3. Is building 3 liable for building, or is building 1 liable for building 3, or is it building 2? That's all still going on now. The family, myself, my twin brother Matthew, and my mother moved over here in about 2000. We lived in Mountain Creek, just on the Sunshine Coast.
I know Mountain Creek well.
Good spot.
We used to verse them in basketball all the time.
Probably won.
No, they were a good team.
They were good.
We beat them in the grand final, actually.
Good, mate, good.
Me and my mate, sorry to interrupt. Me and my mate Dane Christensen from Survive to Thrive.
Oh, yeah, Survive to Thrive, yep.
Yeah, we're on the same basketball team when we were kids.
Yeah, rock on. Okay, mate, just another veteran doing well.
He's killing it.
Looking after others.
He's always been an entrepreneur. Even when we were little kids, he hasn't changed much, to be honest. Just a ball of energy. Just go get him.
Yeah, no, look, we've got quite a few mutuals. I don't know him personally, but I'm sure with the circles that the veteran space sort of moves in and who connects to who, then I'll run into him eventually.
He's been on the podcast, but we didn't release it because we've been friends for over 30 years. So the podcast just turned into us just reminiscing and almost having a cry over a couple of things, and we're like, this probably isn't like podcast quality. It's just a really good catch up.
Yeah,
let's do another podcast.
The guys in the background are like, what is this about?
Yeah.
No, fair. But yeah, moved here in about 2000. Went to Mountain Creek. Did Navy cadets.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the first time I've ever admitted that publicly. A TS Onslaught, Caloundra. And then wasn't, I think, reaching my own expectations in the public system. But Mum also wanted to sort of give me a bit of a finishing on the back end of my schooling career. So years 9, 10, 11, 12, I went out to Warwick to Scott's PGC.
Yeah, right.
Which is a co-ed boarding school. Sort of forces you into social situations, much like defence, going through basic. It's not private rooms, it's
dorms.
Dorms. And it's 30 guys to one room. Everyone's got their own cupboard, and that's about it. But when I was there, I also started doing Army cadets because the school at that time, not so much now, had a very, very strong military presence in terms of all of the teachers, all of the coaches, in terms of all of your after school stuff, were all ex-defence members. So my boarding housemaster from year 9 and 10 was a warrant officer, and he WO2. He actually pops up later in about the start of 2013 because he's ASWOC'd up to Major, and by the time I run into him again, he's a Louis Colonel.
So he was a current serving member working at the boarding school?
He was the head of the reserve unit, so he was a reservist at a reserve unit as a admin WO, and yeah, he eventually jumped back into full time, and while he was then full time, whenever that was, he's also then become the head of the cadet unit on Laverack. So I then ran into him at the mess, and he had a very significant impact on my career as I went to my ability to study.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very fiery exchange there.
It's obviously a go-getter. He's fucking in and out and doing lots of things. Good on him. You what was Mountain Creek? What was Mountain Creek like? Was it? I know Caloundra was rough as fucking guts.
Well, Mountain Creek was pretty quiet. We lived on the same street as the school, so there was, there was a lot of kids in the area. Mountain Creek, I think at that time had 2,000 or 3,000 kids at the primary school and like 4,000 or 5,000 kids at the high school. Yeah, it's like the 4th or 5th largest high school in Australia.
Wow.
It's so big that they had to break the schools down into 4 subdivisions and then have 2 staggered start times. So years 7 through or 8 through 10 would start at 11 and
Why the
finish at
hell are they so
4:30.
big? Was everyone from like Kawana and Warana and stuff going there?
Huge catchment. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But also I think the quality of education was probably better than some of the other places. But also Caloundra is 20 k's away.
Yeah.
So
we had Kawana High, then Mountain Creek, then Maroochydore, I think.
yeah, but it was a good time. Like I spent most of my weekends doing surf lifesaving, so doing nippers, doing bronze and silver medallions, flying around on IRBs, being an absolute idiot as a young, 14, 15-year-old, getting the stick for the first time, jumping over waves I shouldn't be jumping over. We spent a lot of time sort of driving around southeast Queensland to all different surf life-saving competitions. So my forte, not that I was very good at it, but was flags and swimming. So I was also swimming a fair bit, just outside surf life-saving. So,
was there any inclination to join the Navy?
No, none. And Navy cadets really drove me away from that, to be honest. Some of the people...
Was it the shorts, like Jared said?
No. The poor Navy band, they cop it so hard. The apology tour was fantastic. No, it was nothing like that. It was just the general vibe of the thing. I just realised that, like, if I had the option of being on land or being on a vessel, I'd probably rather just be on land. It wasn't anything against the Navy, and I've got no issue with the Navy as a service. It is obviously inferior to the Army. Its primary function is to carry the Army, despite what they might tell you as a superior service. But yeah, no, it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Everybody has their own flavour. So what happened after boarding school? Was it always a next step military, or did you move back to the town and start working?
Yeah, look, yes and no. So my inclination towards defence started when I was in high school. My boarding house master, a guy named Ian Reid, if anyone knows Ian, send him a message. He's a good dude. He's still in Counsel, actually. He was a big influence in terms of telling all the guys stories about his time in service and sort of some of the things he got to do. He was in quite a few scenarios that I think even by current standards, people would look back and say, "Gee, that's wild." Like he was in Somalia and a few other things that would have left obvious sort of impact on people, but at the same time, he was still able to sort of see through that and provide the positive aspect of what defence life was like in terms of the mateship, the camaraderie, the lifestyle, and for young guys who wanted to sort of have good mates and be fit, that seemed really good. So when I left, my plan was to join defence. I'd already self-identified that I probably needed to work on a few things before I could join, particularly as I went to my education background, because at the time it actually wasn't that strong.
Was it a bit of when you were at Mountain Creek and your parents were like, "No, we need to give you a more structured environment"? Were you like a shit kid as well? Were you a troublemaker?
Oh, not overly. It's just I wasn't very interested in school. And to be fair, I wasn't that much more interested at Scott's. It's that all those co-curriculars, the swimming, all of the surf life-saving and stuff took over far more time than study did. And once you hit senior school at Mountain Creek, you start your day at 10 and then you finish later. So all the kids would go to the beach before school, and then you realise they just don't go to school. They just stay at the beach all day. So Mum wanted to sort of pull me out of that environment where I was a bit lazy on everything and just sort of really focus more on education. And the wonderful thing about Scott's is obviously introduced me more to the Army and to sort of socialising with others and mateship and team sports. But at the same time, it also offered less subjects that would endear me to do well in school. I don't really like woodwork. It's an agricultural school. So animal husbandry was not a subject I enjoyed, but it was all they had on offer.
Yeah, right.
So I recognised if I wanted to join defence, I probably had to demonstrate that I had the capacity to sort of study and to sort of apply myself in that way. So I wasn't 100% on what my future career would look like, but I knew that I had to get into something. So I went off and spoke to the careers counsellor at school, a woman named Sue Pike, and she, of all things, saw fit to enrol me in a diploma of business while I was in year 11. And I dropped a subject, which was funny because the teacher said, "Cameron, you're not currently passing this subject. Are you sure that doing a diploma will actually be better for you?" I said, "I hope so. Let's see how it goes." So I ended up doing a diploma of business all the way through to year 12, and then I effectively used that to get into university at the Sunshine Coast. doing a Bachelor of Business.
Oh, nice.
Failed first year law, or at least the law subject in your first year, primarily due to me not reading the timetable correctly. And then when I redid that subject at the end of my study, right before I was due to join defence, I actually realised I really enjoyed that subject, sort of holistically and in terms of the outcomes. So
you enjoy, you're one of those people that enjoys reading policy and stuff?
No, no, not at all. I enjoy the outcomes. That's the thing. I despise reading. I do it because it's part of the job, and because obviously as a lawyer, you do, in effect, get paid to do it, which is to a point motivating. You want to do well for your client, you want to have a good outcome. But the reason I enjoyed the subjects, I realised more so in hindsight, is that I enjoyed what law could do for others. It wasn't necessarily self. It was, that was powerful to learn that. It was beneficial to learn that. Here's how I can go off and apply it.
Yeah, true.
And that's that's obviously a really big thing, what we were just talking about before in terms of purpose when people leave defence. But my initial inclination wasn't actually either to join the army; it was to join the Air Force.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and that was the whole process of itself, and that's kind of how I ended up being military police. It was off the back of a faux pas on DFR's behalf.
Oh, you mean they pulled the wool over?
They pulled So I went through the
old Macca's fucking worker as well.
Yeah, mate, good times there.
Yeah,
good times there.
You joined to be a pilot, applied to be a pilot, passed all your things.
Yeah.
Sat an officer selection board. I did one of those as well.
Yeah, mate, they're not too bad. Did you do the obstacle course?
I did a COVID OSB, so I had 5 officers on Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were all in this big room, sort of 2 meters apart. So 2 in the front, 3 in the back. And so I had a screen with all of them on it, and then I was sitting there in my suit, no pants on, obviously.
Is this to be an exercise phys?
No, to be a GSO in the Army, yeah.
Yep. That's what I would have done, for sure.
Yeah.
But, I initially went in as I was looking at air combat officer. I didn't at the time think I liked the responsibility of being a pilot, but being an air combat officer wouldn't have been.
Is that Goose?
This Goose, yeah. Weapons and comms, all the cool stuff. Forget flying the plane. You still get to learn how to fly, but you don't have to do it. And went through from about the middle of 2010, just as I was sort of due to wrap up my studies, through until the end of 2011, through DFR, and went through the OSB, got to the end of it, and they returned to me before they provided me an appointment date and said, hey, we need a copy of your Year 12 physics if you want to be an air combat officer. I didn't do Year 12 physics. You guys have had my Year 12 results for nearly 2 years now. And they said, oh, sorry, you can't be. You can't join as a pilot or an air combat officer then. And I said, well, this is just crap. You guys are well and truly making a mess of this. What's the next job going? Because I'm sick of waiting. And they said, well, we've got an ab initio military police program. You can join in 2 weeks. And I said, yeah, okay, put me up for that. What is that? And that was it. That's how I became military police.
Yeah, right.
What a career choice that was.
You don't meet many MPs that love the decision. How's it? What's the vibe like? I've got a couple of good friends that are MPs. I love them to death, but do you feel that sort of negativity towards the corps when you're doing it?
It's really 50-50. You get a good amount of animosity when you're in, or even
like banter.
Yeah. But even when you're out, you get it too. And it's all very well and good until, you're walking up and down Flinders Street in Townsville and the dude's pissed and they're like, oh God, I need a hand. And you're like, cool, jump in the back of the pod, mate. I only did that sort of work a couple of times. That wasn't really my vibe. I was battalion. Jump in the back of the pod and I'll just give you a lift home. And then all of a sudden you're the best mate. So winning hearts and minds, one drunk digger at a time. But it was really 50-50. What I found was harder to deal with than the sort of general wider army was actually my own hierarchy. because I came through in this ab initio program because the military police corps was effectively dying. I think at that time there was maybe 90 to 110 military police. And they had a thing called Combat Military Police 2016, which then turned into Combat Military Police 2017 and then 2018, as they tried to revitalise, re-establish and really solidify the corps as actually having some sort of benefit other than just pointing that way, right? And we had a large number of senior NCOs and officers that were already in service. And then we had, and normally what would happen is, which is what I think most people got sort of confused or maybe even upset about, is that military police was in essence a superior corps, similar to, at that time, Intel. You had to do 4 to 6 years in defence, become a corporal, and then transfer over before you're even sort of able to transfer over. Whereas I went in at a time when, because they needed people, if you had a degree or if you had, you were effectively suitable to be an officer, they would put you into this ab initio program. The caveat being that you had to do, on top of your IETs, an extra 12-week training course called SSC or something, some course you had to do, but it was effectively just an attitude check. The entire thing was just an attitude check, and if you were just a bit of a tool, you weren't going to get through. But then when we obviously hit our unit, where all these sort of young guys coming through, we're in our early 20s as opposed to our 30s. We've got hierarchy that don't have tertiary qualifications, bachelor's degrees. Their highest qualification might be a Cert 4 in, I don't know, training or risk management or something.
Yeah.
And they were and there were at least, 2 members of hierarchy who were very negative. One of them was unfortunately my CSM. You guys haven't been here long enough. You don't deserve to be here. This sort of stuff. So, and unfortunately, because they were in a influential position in the regiment, in the battalion, that sort of became quite a limiting factor for some of my mates. And I know from the guys that I joined with, I think of about 60 to 70 that went through in that 2 to 3 year period, only 2 or 3 are actually still in.
Yeah, right.
Because they just got low key, either ostracised or.
You can definitely see that. Anybody that served will know that you can definitely see that happening.
Yeah.
They've worked their way up from being a digger and done their time and got to where they are, and they're like, these fuckers are just walking straight in off the street.
Well, 12 years in infantry to be able to then transfer to military police because you've been told that you're not physically fit enough to be a sergeant in infantry. You then get offered catering pay corps, which existed at that time, or MP, or transport. You're there and you're pretty salty about it. Bit jaded. So, but at the same time, we also had guys that recognised it for what it was, and they said, "Oh, look, this is just a wonderful opportunity to mentor kids that actually sort of want to be here, that are smart." It's 2 really good sergeants I had, Sarge Seraphin and Sergeant Webb. Fantastic guys. Seraphin's former transport. Webby's former 4 RAR before it became 2 Commando. Both joined for their own reasons. I saw Sarge Seraphin probably 2 weeks ago in Wagga. Just really good guys.
What are you doing down in Wagga?
Got invited to a march out with Jared Gantry.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. One of the Sunshine Coast locals, Nathan Tolman, his son went off and marched out. So,
Nath Punk.
Nath Punk, yep. So he and I met up at the Veteran Games last year with Heston Russell, and we obviously get along pretty well. He's on board with what I do. He's just a good guy to have a talk to and stuff. So midway through the Veteran Games, he just said, "Oh, if you guys are free, you should come down to the march out." And Jared and I just said, "Yeah, let's do it." So
yeah, right. So just to give his son a bit of a morale boost.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I don't know if it's a morale boost. I'm sitting in the stands with my red beret on, in the VIP booth.
I'm watching you, boy.
Yeah. But it turned out really good. For some strange reason, all of these officers were doing a tour of all the bases. So we're there at this march out, and there's, normally you've got like maybe 2 lieutenants, a major, the XO, the CO, and an RSM. That's it.
Yeah.
No, the VIP booth was stacked. There was probably 12 Woe 1s, 4 Woe 2s, a fair few Louis Colonels, all just sort of wandering around, and Jared's just walking around taking the absolute mickey out of everyone, just absolutely hammering dudes. And I was in the back like, yeah, man, that's sick. Get him. You tell him, bro. I'll hype you up. It was a good time.
Nice. You mates with Jared outside of that?
Yeah, look, we do talk a bit. We've had a pretty interesting year, he and I. The defence space is obviously a pretty interesting one. We've got guys like Dylan Conway. There's other companies out there like Homefront that are sort of all starting to start to put back in where they can.
Yep.
And
I'm hearing Dave's name a lot lately.
Good guy. It just seems that if you're one of the good guys in the veteran space and you move in those circles, you'll consistently run into the same people. So Jared and I had probably 4 or 5 events back to back over the space of 2 months where we caught up every time.
Yeah, right.
And then I went to one of his comedy shows and he pulled the piss out of me because I'm a hairline. So it's a bit of a
not because you're an MP.
Nah.
I went to what was it called? Oh, Shell Shocked. Did you go to Shell Shock last year?
Yeah.
And there was like a table of MPs at the front.
Yeah, that was all the. So there's one good dude on there on that table, the CEO. And I'm aware of Jared pulling the piss out of the guy who was
he's flogging
the piss out of him because he was trying to say, what was he trying to say? He was trying to say like, don't acknowledge that you're a defence member if you get called upon in the crowd or something, or don't turn up to this show because there's going to be a whole bunch of veterans there or something. He was having a go at him directly. I was 3 tables over with Dylan Conway.
Oh yeah.
And Jared put up on his Facebook after that a photo of wearing my beret. And I'm just next to him. Yeah. It's a good show.
Yeah, it was funny. I was sitting next to that dude that got flogged by the MC. Remember at the start he said something stupid about fucking, I don't even can't remember what it was, but he was literally right next to me. So he was like screaming and I was like, what are you doing, mate? And then he just got hammered by the MC for the rest of the night. I was like, yeah, you fuck, sit down.
Richly deserved. Richly deserved. Muppet. But no, smashing the table of MPs is good times. Like I would too.
And those boys at the front, that was funny.
Yeah.
They were getting hammered too.
Yeah.
You gotta love it when they find some good front rowers.
One of them was, I won't get into it, one of them was actually a client of mine. And he turned to me midway through the show and said, just terrified my entire table, just turned around and knew my name. Doesn't happen very often because I'm behind the keyboard most of the time. But yeah, Jared picked up on that too and started going him as well. So it was good. It's good to watch.
Cool. So I love it. We definitely don't say them out loud, but I love how you put the names next to the dudes. You go, shit, dude. Da-da-da.
Fair point.
Studying.
Yeah,
so you did DAS, yeah? I was talking about DAS a couple of days ago. It's you were one of the lucky ones because someone was saying, you can easily do DAS. I'm like, well, depends where you are because if you're in a critical trade, they're not going to fucking let you go real easy.
No, absolutely not. So, look, I could be wrong. Maybe this just applied when I was in, but as I understand it, you have HQ funds, which are funds that are allocated to all units for whatever. And then you have unit funds, which are limited to your unit. Your unit, I think, don't quote me, either has the option of purchasing rounds at the magazine so diggers can get on target and go do range practice, or paying for your DAS application.
Yeah, right.
That is the allocation of funding for your unit.
That's a pretty easy choice for most units.
Yeah. And that's how Ian Reid became so influential because I won't say his name, but all the MPs watching know exactly who the CSM of Alpha Company was between 2012 and 2014.
So who was the Reid dude?
Say again?
Who was Reid? Who was Ian Reid?
Oh, that's Ian Reid. So he was the boarding house master at Scott's.
Oh, that's the one you said would pop back up.
Becomes very influential. Actually, to an extent, I effectively owe my ability to study to him because what's happened is when I've put in a DAS application, I knew from going through the military police basic course, at the very end of that course, we do a thing called give and present evidence, and they set it up. They've got a full-on court-martial setting at DPTC for the coxswains because it's an all-core training environment. They've also got a complete bridge of a ship, so you can do live scenarios,
right.
Arresting dudes, assaulting the captain, whatever it is. So Ian, I've applied for DAS after realising during the basic course that the give and present evidence was actually pretty Gucci. I enjoyed that. That was probably the thing of the course that I enjoyed the most, not the takedowns, not the drafting of the statements, nothing like that. So I think on the 3rd or the 4th of December 2012, I've put in a DAS application, and
to be a lawyer,
to do law, yeah. And my CSMs pulled me aside and said to me, "What makes you think the career I've chosen for myself is not good enough for you that you have to go study to do something else?" Verbatim, exactly what he said to my face. And the reason that came up is because when I put the application in, it's obviously attention OC, for attention CSM. He had me called up to his office and told me he wasn't going to approve it. And it turns out, as a young digger, the incorrect thing to say when you get told that is, it's not for your approval, it's for your attention. I think that has to go to the CO or the OC. Have they made a decision? And that's when he said those wonderful words to me and sort of told me to piss off. We had a reduced tempo period starting on about the 14th of December. And all of the messes on Laverack Barracks shut down. I was in, I think it's the Chauvel mess. And I hear someone very large walk up behind me and place a hand on my shoulder. Terrifying. And I hear this rather familiar voice say, "Hello, Cameron, what are you doing here? And what the hell is on your shoulder?" Because it was a military police patch. And I recognised it as Ian Reid. And I've just turned around and said, "I'm never going to salute you. That's not going to be something I do." It's good to see you, though. How are you?
You don't salute him, you salute the king.
That's it. And he said, he's caught up very quickly. And all of my mates are kind of, because we're Jubes. Like, we're at that point out of training where a lieutenant's a god, They're not. We're at the point of training where, you see the OC once a month. And to have a Louis Colonel come over and start interacting, gosh, that's crazy. And he's invited me over to his place on the weekend for dinner and sort of said, "Oh, how are things going? What do you think of the wider army? Is it everything you hoped it was going to be? And what's it like being an MP?" And I just said, "Well, it's actually not too great. Like, my sergeant seems pretty cool. My corporal doesn't ever really talk to us. And they seem adamant that I can't study." And he just said, "What do you mean?" And I told him about this incident with the CSM. And he's reached out to a couple of mates that he's got, and I get to work on the Monday or the Tuesday. I can hear this yelling coming from the Crystal Tower that is my OC's office, the Crystal Palace. And I hear the echo system because I'm at the back of the transport yard, non-teching a vehicle or learning how to non-tech a vehicle or something, I don't know. And I hear, Private Niven to the OC's office, and I shuffle my way up there as quick as I can. And there is Ian Reid, a Padre, my OC, and the CSM. And the OC basically says, "I'm sorry, I was unaware of this application. That's been approved." And he then sort of goes to the CSM, "Okay, you can speak now." And he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, Private Niven." He says to me, "Do you accept that apology?" And I was like, "Not at all. That's wild." and it, well, again, wrong answer. So my study got approved, but the way that I went about having it be approved led to a merry-go-round of hate from my CSM, who then preferred me for, I think, over the course of the next 2 years, 9 or 10 charges.
Yeah, right.
And before we get into them, if you want to talk about them, I think I pled guilty to the first one because everyone sort of tells you, take it on the chin, they'll leave you alone. They won't. That's not why you're getting charged. They're going to keep charging you. They want you out. That's why they're charging you. I either got guilty and then overturned on appeal, or not guilty on all of the remaining, we'll say 8. And then the final one had some administrative malarkey, which ultimately led to the termination of my service, and for which I received a very humble and polite phone call from a legal officer telling me that the decision was incorrect and the Defence Force apologises.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But nothing in writing for the purpose of seeking compensation from the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, Ian Reid was a very big impact on my ability to study. So,
yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
So you obviously didn't get to start that study whilst in, or did you?
I did. Again, more malarkey. So I started at a time under the DAS application scheme where you would receive, I think you'd receive about 4.5 hours per week per subject, up to 10 weeks, which if you're doing 2 subjects meant that you get 1 whole day off every week for 10 weeks. There's 13 weeks in a university semester typically. Bearing in mind there's a study break, 2 study breaks, and then another break for exam break, so that's fine. They have to release you for the exams. And what ends up happening is they start scheduling me to do specific taskings on specific days. But those are the same days that I have study. I got no other taskings any other day. Just Thursdays.
So you gave them like a study schedule.
Yeah.
And then
they just shit on it. Yeah, correct. Yeah. And then put me on to random field exercises, like a 1 week long radio picket in a tent out the front of my own battalion the week of the exams. So I couldn't study or prepare. I was like, okay, guys, that's great. Good work. Wonderful, wonderful leadership here.
I should have accepted that apology. Yeah?
Oh, no, I did. It took me 2.5 years to get it, So I got punted in 2014. I received this phone call, I think, middle of 2016.
No, I mean, when he said, I'm sorry, do you accept my apology?
Yeah, look,
you should have sucked his dick.
No.
Thank you so much, CSM. Thank you.
Yeah, all praise be to you. But, I mean, look, he has his own, I know his background a little bit. He left defence as I think a sergeant to start his own contracting business, which in turn failed miserably. So I think he ended up coming back to defence as a last option because it's all he had under his belt that he could do. No discredit to him for trying to start his own business, but full discredit for bringing his animosity towards people trying to uplift themselves in that situation or any situation.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just not what defence is about. He is the complete opposite of what I would have ever been if I was a CSM.
Well, I've said it many times, and perfect little demonstration of it now in your story is that good or bad leadership can make or break a soldier's career, and that's pretty much sums that up. Having a bad CSM is kind of broken your career.
Yeah, well,
Company Sergeant Major, for anybody not in the military, is he runs a company level leader with an OC as his boss, officer in charge.
Yeah, definitely not the best.
When you got booted, what sort of charges are they throwing at you?
Oh gosh, pick anything. I've probably had it. I've had in-sub, fail to comply, disobey lawful command. I've had prej, neg performance of duty.
Were you being a cocky shit and talking back and stuff? Or?
No, not really. Under the 2 sergeants I had, I was pretty good. I now know from my conversations with those 2 sergeants once I was out of service, is they were pushing back very hard against the CSM to say, don't do this. This is not necessary. He's our soldier to manage. Let us manage him. But at the same time, he had his friends in the unit that would report to him on what I was doing outside of my own chain. So there were other corporals in other sections that were informing him of my whereabouts, of my doings. And he was relying upon that information as opposed to the information provided by my 2 sergeants. And that's a uniqueness of military police at that time, is that we had so much hierarchy that your section commander was a sergeant.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So it wouldn't be uncommon to have 2 sergeants.
Yeah, right.
One would potentially be a secco, one would be effectively a lance corporal. That changed by the time I left, and we still had sergeants as seccos, but we then had full tracks as lance corporals, and then your lance corporal are just in there digging, it's fodder. I had almost everything you can think of, and some of them were really just ridiculous. Like, if I had them now, obviously I would have very, very hopefully good arguments to deal with those charges, but things like negligent performance of duty when I wasn't on a duty, a range safety officer, a first aid officer, a unit security officer, those are duties. Service is just every day. And they're saying that I've negligently performed duty by, I don't know, leaving a weapon secure. Well, that's not a duty. That's failure to comply. And then we get into that, and it turns out that I've never signed for that weapon. This is a true story. I've never signed for this weapon. A sergeant signed for that weapon. He then gave it to a private to go do some handgun drills. It was a Browning 9mm. The private's given it to me. I've gone back to the sergeant, gone, "Hey mate, here's your 9mm. Where do you want it?" "Oh, just put it in the top drawer, mate. Thank you." Done. He's sitting at his desk. Put it into his top drawer. He's gone to lunch. He hasn't taken his 9mm with him. The CSM walks in trying to find something in that sergeant's desk, opens the top drawer, finds a 9mm. Goes, "Sergeant, what the hell is this?" "Oh, that was private then." There you go. There's a neg performance of duty.
That's, one of those throwing you under the bus moments.
Yeah. And then
puts a bad taste in your mouth.
AWOL, 26 seconds late to work.
That's not AWOL.
Yeah.
AWOL's 4 hours, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, these are all not guilty on appeal. So I turned up to work 0725.26. And, if you've read your base or your unit standing orders recently, first parade time is 0730. So got charged with being AWOL. Produced the unit standing orders. It said 7:30. I said, "How am I AWOL?" "Oh, okay, yeah, not guilty." Just all sorts of stuff.
How did it out for you?
Yeah, probably. Some of them did come out from legitimate circumstances that would have been concerning, but a conversation would have been the way to go as opposed to a discipline, like a charge. The Defence Force effectively presumes guilt in all matters. Which they shouldn't do. And if you actually read the material, 9 times out of 10, they can't substantiate intent, let alone whether the person's guilty. I had a matter where it's my matter. I was actually the duty driver, and we had an event on in the afternoon. We had to pay to go to, $5 to the booze or whatever. And I've been asked to drive a member to the airport. I've said, okay, I'll double check with my hierarchy. I've gone to my Lance Jack. He's gone, yep, no dramas. I've gone, sweet. The clerk, sergeant, has asked me later, "Have you paid your $5? I said, "I'm not going to be there, so I'm not going to pay." "Where are you going to be?" "Oh, driving to the airport as a duty member." "Okay, sweet." He's gone laterally straight over to my sergeant and said, "Hey, it's private, never told you this." And he goes, "No." So then I got charged with prej for lying. And we got into the proceedings, and prej as a charge requires that there be a diminished reputation element towards defence. And I take that to be that there needs to be a third party who now has a lesser view of defence as a consequence of your conduct. So conduct inside a unit, I don't think should be a prej charge. And I said, okay, you guys need to call your witness that confirms that they're aware of this outside defence. And my OC was just like, "What the hell is going on right now?" "Oh, I can see how you've made that argument." "Okay, yeah, that's a real issue for the prosecution." And then we called in my Lance Jack, who confirmed that I told him. And he then confirmed he hadn't told the corporal, and the corporal hadn't told the sergeant. So I got charged for lying when, Sergeant 1 spoke to Sergeant 2, and my hierarchy hasn't yet learnt of my movements, but I've still got approval, so I haven't lied at all. Again, not guilty. So, yeah, there are some...
On the flip side of that, what do you reckon they would have said about you?
Oh, they probably would have said I was overeager. Probably a bit too motivated for my own good. Probably to speak less. And generally just to shut up.
Lippy.
Not lippy. Not arrogant. But if they had a question, I would probably go and do some research and try and answer it. If we're doing an AAR after an exercise, I'm not going to provide feedback. That's the purpose of that activity.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't mean I'm being critical, or that I'm being negative towards another member, but I would be honest in my assertions.
They thought it was too much from a private.
Yeah. I'm sure if I was a full track, I'd be welcomed. But at that particular stage of a career early on, you don't realise that's actually not the expectation. Your goal is to meet the defence value of excellence, and that means to some extent being yourself, but also being honest in that. But at the same time, you got to shut up.
Yeah, those defence values aren't as relevant when you're a private.
No. It's a hard time. Got really digging holes though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So during this admin process, was it you were studying at the time, and it was kind of a bit of a mess, or how long did it take to get them too much out of there?
Look, yes and no. I started studying as soon as I was able to, which I think was first semester 2013. And like I said, they were trying to interfere with my ability to actually do the study. At the same time, I remember, and I've still, like obviously you keep your textbooks if you finish your study because they're good resources for later on. I've got textbooks that are beaten to hell because, I've gone on field exercise, dug a hole, lay behind a machine gun, finished my picket, and then gone back to my sleeping bag, pulled out a textbook, and started reading with a red light. Sergeant Webb walks past and goes, "You're an absolute idiot. Like, I don't know why you think this was a good idea." I'm like, "Nah, it'll be fine."
Mm-hmm.
So defence assisted study paid for it until I left, but there was issues there as well. Like you need to put in your minute at the end of every semester with your HEX contribution notice, the cost of the subject which the university gives you. It either if you don't pay it and you're in what's called a Commonwealth supported position, as you know, the government picks it up and it just goes, it's just a HEX debt.
Mm.
You need to take that notice and you need to submit it through the chain of command. In the end of the second semester 2014, I reached out to the education officer to confirm that they'd received all of my HEX notices for contribution to make sure that Defence had actually paid them. He hasn't received one. So I went back through my emails and just re-forwarded, 3 or 4 of them, whatever they were, emails straight to him direct, and then got roped into the CSM's office for apparently stepping outside the chain of command because the OC was still working on referring those minutes from 2 years ago. Yeah, okay, sir. Yeah, I don't believe you for some reason. So highly encouraged as an option to members in defence.
It's not always hard.
Just gosh, keep the paperwork. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we were talking about before the podcast. You got to remember that the army is just another, or the military in general is just another chapter in your life. It's probably not going to be the final chapter. So you got to either have a plan before you go into what you'll do after, or make steps for the next step while you're in there. And DAS is a good option if you can get on it. If not, there's always the option of studying yourself in your downtime, in your days off, and when you're sitting around the cages doing fuck all but scrolling Instagram.
Why not?
Mm.
Yeah. Look, I've made some terrible choices in my life, but the option of taking up study at all once I left school I will never regret.
Yeah.
I've done further study since doing my Bachelor of Law, each for their own reason, and I cannot recommend to any soldier taking up some sort of secondary skill set outside defence. And in saying that, like, it could be anything. If it has the ability to finance your life or to build a better life for you, do it.
Mm.
I spoke to a digger the other day and he was being charged for something. I'm not going to get involved in that matter. Like, I'm not doing anything for it. But I said, like, what are you doing should you end up leaving defence? And he said, me and 5 of my mates have got together, started a company, and we put 20% of every pay we get into this company as an investment vehicle with a shareholder agreement so that we can buy property through it.
Yeah, right.
Just crazy things like that some people are doing, like diggers.
Yeah.
Got a better investment portfolio than some of the officers at a senior level.
Oh, yeah, I know. I know a digger that's got like five investment properties already.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting pretty entrepreneurial these days.
Yeah, smart, man. ChatGPT pushing the way.
Yeah.
How can I better myself?
Yeah.
There you go.
Got young Jaden from Valor Vinyls with a little sticker machine in his room.
Yep. Is he still in?
Yeah.
Right. I'll get him as a client one day. He'll get charged for making something too offensive, and I'll be there. Good God! No, he reached out to me.
Oh yeah.
He said, "Hey man, we've got some requests for merch for Defence Diaries. Do you want merch?" And I was like, "I'll take merch. Yeah, man, that's cool as." I don't know what it's going to be, and he's just like, "Well, I've got a guy who'll draw something up, and And that's me sitting on a chair. You've got no idea what I'm talking about?
No.
Nah, right.
He's made a sticker for you.
He's made a sticker for me, yeah, man. Good dude. And I've got no reception.
No, it's pretty trash. You can jump on the Wi-Fi if you want.
No, I'll do it later. But no, he's got me sitting in a chair, smoking a cigar, drinking a red wine, reading a book called Defence Diaries.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I was like, that's cool, man.
Yeah, nice.
I bought 10, just so I didn't want to feel bad about like just no one buying them. So I was like a bit of
I actually put a bunch of stickers on his website, and he sends me like a commission check every month.
Oh, what a treat!
Yeah, no, get a little deposit in my bank every month. I'm like, oh, people are buying them.
Thanks,
that's
man.
cool.
I'm probably going to buy there's one of Scott Ryder, the 2 Commando dude who's sitting at the pokies. You seen that one? There's a legendary photo of this operator. I think he must have been in Dubai on some sort of protection mission.
He's in full uniform.
He's in full tack gear, like smiled up, good to go, at action. Just sitting there, just having a slap. It's like, good day, yeah, man, great day.
Nice.
Yeah. Some people have much better careers than I do. Certainly longer. So
that's the pinnacle.
Yeah,
that's the top of the mountain right there.
Having a slap and full tack gear is pretty good.
I say here you mentioned that you only infringed one person, but you did pull over a lead LT for bullying your brother.
Yeah.
Was your brother in?
Yeah, twin brother. He was at 147 AD air dispatch down in Richmond as a transporter. And he was actually there when I was at Holsworthy doing my basic training. So we'd actually be able to catch up, and because we went to different boarding schools.
What?
Yeah. Well, because he got expelled from mine. He got kicked out. The great drinking debacle of 2005. Him and half my grade got expelled from the school for going to the Warwick Rodeo.
Yeah, right.
And getting lit.
How old were they? 12 or something?
Oh no, we'd have been 15.
Yeah, right.
But Warwick Rodeo, free for all. So you just turn up.
Especially back in 2005.
Yeah, if you're in the members area, you can buy beers. That's the way they worked it. So there was 2 ways back to school. One was down the main road. The other way was across the railway bridge, which is obviously incredibly dangerous because it's a railway bridge. You're 30 plus meters up. So I went that way, and everyone that came down the road got caught. Me and all my mates just hooked it around the back of the boarding house and jumped in bed. Started trying to drink water that we'd put in bed earlier. So yeah, we weren't we are close, but I hadn't really seen him in person at that point for probably 3 years consistently in terms of on a weekly or even a monthly basis. So it was really good to be posted or to be going through training at Holsworthy, because it meant I could go out to Richmond and see Matt and vice versa. And he eventually posted to 3 Sisby, Counsel. And I was, obviously 2 units back at 1 MP. And he told me about his lieutenant who kept on giving him a really hard time for just nothing. Matthew had an interest in studying. I think he was doing nursing at the time. And he was also interested in competitive bodybuilding. So he was, to a Jube lieutenant who hasn't got much going for him except for the fact he's got 2 pips on his Tinder profile. He was probably made it a selling point. He was probably a bit not taken aback, but maybe a little bit jealous of the enlisted men, trying to do better. And he kept on just having a go at him about bodybuilding and his physique and just really random things that you just wouldn't expect from an LT. And I asked Matt, what does he drive? Fuck this dude. And he tells me that he drives like a 1990 piece of shit Porsche, because he's a Jube lieutenant, and that's what you would drive as a Jube lieutenant trying to make your mark in the world, a piece of shit Porsche. And one of my mates was at the front gate doing the radar check, and I don't do that work. Like I've trained on the LiDAR, but battalion, which is where I was, battalion, not DPU. All we did was attach to infantry units and do their detainee handling. So get trained on all their weapon systems and effectively just infantry with the ability to arrest. Nothing crazy. And I've gone out to the front gate at about 3:50. Told Sarge I was going to go get a coffee from Zarafas. And Sarge just like, it's a bit late for a coffee, but all right, man, sure. You got it. Spoke to my mate. I won't say his name. He's still in. And grabbed his LiDAR and started looking for a crap-looking Porsche coming up Milton Black Drive. And I think I waited about 5 minutes and I grabbed him straight away. Doing 38. Pulled him out. Yep, you're doing 41. just fuck you, dude. And he started gobbing off saying, oh, you're a private, you can't charge me. And I said, sweet, mate, jump out of the car, stand at attention for my safety so I can see your hands. So I've got a lieutenant standing at attention on the side of the road. And I'm just knife handing this guy about base safety and, you know, DRTIs, Defence Road Transport Instructions, and passing troops or whatever it was at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Said, I'm not going to infringe you. Be about your business. Get out of here. Don't do it again. Next day.
Are you identical twins?
No.
Oh, so you wouldn't know.
Not a clue. Next day, same thing. Got him again.
He still wasn't speeding?
No. No. Third day, got him again. And he looks at my name tag and goes, oh, Niven, do you have a brother? And I was like, got a twin brother. That's Reese'sby. He goes, okay. Yeah, I got it. And I was like, all right, good. Get in your car, go away. Never infringed him. Never took any great steps to injure him. That's not really my vibe. The only person I ever did actually arrest was kind of forced to. It was, I think, 2014. We're getting ready for exercise Talisman Sabre, the big biannual event for all the people that don't know. And we've got we're at Bloody George's, and we've got the Americans, British, we Gurkhas at that time, all getting ready, but it was also State of Origin time. And so the brigade commander, I think it was Roger Noble at that time, said 1 drink per person at State of Origin, because it's like 3 days before we step off. And this guy, I will not forget his name. His name's Keith Moon, which is the drummer from The Who. Was doing his sub 1 for corporal, and all of his mates, I think it was his birthday or something, all of his mates just stupid gave all of their 1 beers to that one person. And so I was there with my friend Danby, who's actually now a narcotics detective. He's been cut off. He's then thrown a bottle at a corporal behind the bar, and the entire room of Australian Defence Force personnel that sort of knew me from the gym or from being attached to 1, 2 or 3 RAR kind of just looked at me like, what are you going to do? And I actually had a conversation with Danby really quickly and said, mate, if we do nothing, we're going to get hammered for doing nothing, because they know that we're military police. And he's like, yeah, I think we kind of have to do something. So we walked over and just grabbed the guy and said, hey, mate, look, you got to leave. You're not being charged, okay? But you cannot stay here. And then he's tried to punch Danby in the face with a glass, which has missed and hit him on the shoulder. And that's when we were like, yeah, okay, now you are going to get arrested. So we put him onto the ground. And that's not too controversial. Like we later received a commendation of some sort from the American general that was there saying, you know, well done to the military police who were very professional and polite about the entire thing. In America, we would have done this, and it was effectively just to punch the guy in the face and ask questions later. But what then happened was all the guys that were from his home battalion, wherever it was, jumped in and started trying to say, we'll take him, we'll take him, we'll take him. We're saying, you're not taking him, he's under arrest. And it turned into me and Danby versus like his whole section from whichever infantry battalion it was. But luckily, because this was TS was on, all of the reserve military police were back at 1 MP, staying in swags, getting ready to step off the next day, I think, for this exercise. So when one MP got a phone call saying, hey, we need military police to bloody George's, Private Niven's punching on with all of 1RAR, 200 military police turned up out of nowhere. And I think for the first time and probably forever, a battalion member had to write a statement of arrest. And I remember my hierarchy had no idea how to process that. They're like, what do we do with this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've got it, now what? And we had to send it over to the DPU, and the DPU just took care of it because we just didn't do that sort of work. So that's the only time I've ever actually arrested someone. So
yeah,
not by choice. Like it was.
Sounds like a pretty funny scene.
In hindsight, yeah, it would have been pretty funny to watch. Like I would have loved to have been at one MP at the time the phone call came through, because my sergeant told me that when the phone call came through from DPU saying, hey, we need all of you to come with us to get into vehicles right now and go to bloody George's, my sergeant was just like, dear sweet Jesus, Cameron's going to be tearing people up. Mm-hmm. He was like, this is going to be amazing to watch, but also what the hell's going on? So when we finally got this commendation, I think initially there was a real negative perception of you've caused this. You've caused this interaction to occur where you've had to arrest this person. But once this American guy came through and said, oh, that was great work, it was like, okay, you've actually done the right thing. Yeah.
Good job.
Thank God.
What do you do when you're saying there was hundreds of MPs getting ready for TS? What do you guys do on an exercise like TS?
They do a thing called detention, IDOPS, internment detention operations. So in the field space inside Australia, military police effectively set up a encampment. For a while there when I was in, we would literally use star pickets, HESCO and barbed wire to build out like an actual facility. And when the battalion guys, 1, 2, 3, whoever it may be, roll forward and they take on detainees, military police will firstly attach to those guys, to that section, embed, carry jabs and whatever else, and then take on the persons under capture, detainees. A forward element will move forward from the IDOPS centre by probably 110, grab that puck, take them back through, and then they'll be processed. And then military police effectively tie in with a few other different elements to field exploit that information that puck might have. So they might have a visit from Intel, and they want to exploit or extract information from them. They might have a meeting with psych, and military police just kind of just move them around wherever they need to be, while also just generally establishing a jail. So it's twofold. It provides access to the person while also stopping them from being in the firefight.
So you're not just giving out speeding tickets?
Nah. I wouldn't know how to. I honestly wouldn't know how to.
And is that like you run those scenarios whenever you go outfield, you do that sort of stuff?
Yeah, non-stop.
Who are you capturing? Enemy party?
Mate, the Chimerian and the Missourian forces. Non-stop. KMA is a wild place.
Where you capture yourselves?
No. Look, like the infantry guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I think because where were you at? You're when you were in?
All over the place, mate. But I didn't. I wasn't a grunt.
Didn't do it op 4 any time? No. Okay. So on most major exercises, the one of the units will effectively play opposition force. They're getting shot. They're getting captured. Yeah, so we take them. So it's not like we're going to do a clearing patrol, find one of my own guys, an MP, laying out the front of a picket, and just go, oh, you're now being a puck. Like we're not just playing with ourselves, And to the Defence Force's credit, in terms of trying to reintegrate military police in to be valuable, on a couple of exercises I did, it was really, really well received. We had a visit from Woe1 Stonebridge, who was, I think, the RSM of 1RAR at the time. And it was the first time we'd actually integrated, from my knowledge, with 1RAR and actually gone out with their sections. And the feedback from him was, that's fantastic. We can just forget about having to deal with pucks, which otherwise would take up, one section in every platoon, whatever it might be, to deal with detainees. We can just give them to you guys and just keep going, which means we've got a whole extra, fire support unit ready to be in reserve now instead, or whatever else, So it was pretty well received. And to a lesser effect, the camaraderie that came out of that was also really good too, because what ends up happening is, everyone needs a lawyer at some point. Everyone also needs an MP. And it got to a point where, a certain RSM of a unit might say, hey, you guys do military discipline. I've got this happen. What do you reckon? I've spoken to Defence Legal. Their advice wasn't the best. All they've told me they're going to get back to me in 6 weeks. What do you think? Because you're an MP. And you end up developing this relationship with sort of higher command as a private. And then at the same time, because you are attaching to the units and integrating with their sections, most of the guys in the infantry platoons as well. So, I'll go out to on the town in Townsville, and it wouldn't just be me and my 2 MP mates drinking beers together. We'd run into a whole section of infantry guys we know, and all of a sudden we're drinking beers with them too. And they're like, "Oh, you guys are the cool MPs." Well, it's not just me; it's the entire battalion. but yeah, that's what it was like. So that was good. Right. Grabbing guys and saying, "Hey, mate, you're too drunk. Like, I'm not working, but you definitely need to go home." And they go, "Oh, you're an MP. Okay, I'll cop that." No worries, man. Have a good night.
What's the you're saying camaraderie is good with other battalions? What's the camaraderie like between yourselves? Do you have fun and banter, or you're serious?
In military police?
Serious and angry all the time.
in military police?
Yeah.
Look, I think between my guys that came through ab initio, so through that soldier development course,
younger and,
we all got along pretty well. And I still talk to probably half the guys. Probably 6 to 8 are actually located in Brisbane, which is pretty handy. Some are on the Gold Coast. Some are, at least 2 of my mates, that went through with me are still in. One's transferred to Navy. He's now, I think, a chief petty officer. One I found out last weekend is actually a warrant officer in Kapuka, which is crazy. And then I do think back, actually I did actually join 14 years ago now,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that does make sense. He should be a warrant officer by now.
Yeah.
And one's taking a step back from chasing accolades because he's got a family, so he's going to focus on that. But between us, it was always really good, and particularly up to the sort of the rank of sergeant. We were really lucky that we had really, really good sergeants, or at least I did. Webb and Seraphin were great guys. Some of the others were more focused on simply doing battalion time, because you have to do battalion time to get bumped up, either to WO2 or to get a preferential posting later on. So they were just more interested in just sort of not getting to know people and just doing the time to get through. But on the whole, at the senior NCO level, it was really good. But the officer ranks are where, unfortunately, we really got let down. We had, I think, 4 new lieutenants come through that wouldn't say boo.
What do you reckon the problem is? Is it because of the general outlook of the army that there's toxicity and negativity, or what do you think the problem is into battalion? Like 1 MP, Brisbane, for example, when they have a lot of issues, they have recruitment and retention issues and stuff like that.
I think it's a wider defence issue, and it's probably a cultural issue as it goes to the expectation defence gives before joining versus the culture that you are faced with when you join.
Yeah, they definitely should be more honest with what you're going to be experiencing.
This is also versing the nature of the soldier that they are receiving now as well, because even when I joined in, say 2012, Instagram, not a huge thing, right? Attention span, probably pretty good. Yeah. These days, kids are probably joining up and they're on their phones all day, every day prior to joining, right? Attention span, probably not the best, as an example. But then there's other things that go into it as well. Like defence has got to now deal with a changed Australia where they have to be inclusive. They have to augment their policies to really address and engage with everyone in a way that's sort of appropriate. And previously, I think the nature of defence discipline is that they just didn't have to. They can just say, if you don't assimilate, you're just not complying. You don't have good social mastery. And that's it. But defence now actually has to change. And I don't think that Simon Stewart did a great job. The recent Chief of Army, for example, did a great job in implementing change management policies in a way that would actually allow people to do well. But the incoming Chief of Army, who is actually a woman, who I've got some knowledge of, I think she'll actually be fantastic because she's very direct. Whereas previous Chiefs of Army have been, I think, cautious in the face of potentially losing their opportunity to be Chief of Defence. Whereas Susan Coyle, gangster.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's a social problem, social and cultural.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, the attention spans and stuff. I think the problem now with all that social media stuff, another thing that they could be looking at as well is that the fucking ads they put on Instagram and social media are so far left of what it actually is like. All this fucking, join, you get to choose your career. I love my job. Da, 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 da. All these fucking wishy-washy, amazing adventure sort of
it's something
posters.
Like have a career worth living or something. It's something like that. Like that's the Navy one.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just
there's
like
billboards and bus stops and all these people with, it's they don't really know what they're getting into. And then they walk into Kapuka and get fucking blasted and they're like, this is not for me.
No. Well, look, the Defence Force Careers website used to have videos of what it was actually like going through basic.
Yeah.
And they removed them. And I think this came up on social media recently. I think Andy White, Sascat, Once a Pilgrim, made a quick post about the advertising campaign that actually encouraged him to join. And it was a 1980s advert. And all it was our equivalent of Tag East. Doing training drills, right? Just blowing doors off stuff. And people are like, hell yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to go infantry, that's probably pretty accurate. But if you're trying to promote, the Defence Force as a realistic career, and you've got these ads out there, but you're actually going to be going to be a clerk, the two don't. It's chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think the adverts obviously don't help. But at the end of the day, it's also a culture. You've got, I don't know, 18-year-olds joining defence that have been told their entire lives, you can do whatever you want to do. And then suddenly they're hitting a corporal that's just going, mate, just shut the fuck up.
you
don't get to
well,
tell
like you
me
said as well, you're
yeah.
the initiative and
yeah.
That's, what was it? Challenge and initiative and stuff. It's like, how can I show initiative when as soon as I speak, I get put back in my place?
Yeah, hit like a nail. Yeah, and it is hard. Like I think that there's two ranks that I would never want to be in defence again, or at least I would never want to be. The first is a digger. Right. If I ever have kids, I'll say, look, go be an officer, okay, but be a good officer, right? Work with people, learn what they do, learn about them. And then bring them into the value, bring them into the mission. And that way they want to work for you as opposed to just do what I say because I have rank. Because that is the worst type of leadership. And, I'd say probably half my matters have got a bit of that. A bit of, I'm a corporal, therefore. The other rank I would never want to be is a CO. And it's because to that point, as I see it, because I've got quite a few clients who are captains, majors, Louis colonels and colonels, there's a time around the rank of major where you go from looking down at, how you can help people, how you can bring them up, what options you can give them, how you can support them as a leader, to then facing up and saying, what about my career? How do I get that next rank? And once you hit that point, that's when you are completely useless and you just have no purpose being in defence. If your only goal is to get more rank, more prestige, and to have one of these careers where you have all the post noms at the expense of
who can you step on along the way to get there?
Yeah. You just have no place in the Defence Force. That's the complete opposite of what the defence needs. And I do see a fair bit of that too. And honestly, most of those officers probably end up in the personnel management branch, terminating careers because they're not suitable to be leaders. They get pay cords, they get posting at command request, mate, you can't be in charge of this battalion anymore.
Yeah.
You're not good for this place.
But
and the other side of that as well is, as a CO, up to that point, you spent your entire career learning about troop management and how to run a battle space effectively as a lieutenant, how to run a platoon, as a captain, how to be a good XO and how to, do the duties of an XO, and then as a major, how to prepare a battalion. But all of a sudden, as a Louis Colonel, you're in charge of everyone, but for the most part, your job is administrative, and you're expected to know the law in terms of the underlying military administrative policy position that applies to a termination notice, or how certain things need to be considered. And it's like, okay, staff college can't prepare you for that. You've got maybe a 1 year, I think, at staff college, and you get to contend with a lawyer that has 3 years of a law degree plus, nearly 10 years of experience. Like, I would hate that.
Yeah.
And I don't give a forewarning to say that I'll be involved in a matter, so they get better advice up front. I don't give them that. I don't give them that enjoyment. I'll just let them sit back and make poor decisions, and then I'll hammer them in later. So,
well, what they say, power corrupts all. Money and power corrupt all.
That's it.
Yeah, don't care how many heads you have to step on to get there. So you got out and fucking went to law school. I take it you just started self-paying and got it done and you went from the most hated military job to one of the most hated civilian jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just love to be hated.
And that's the end of the interview. That's where it's at. Yeah, look, I mean, it was a bit of a process. The downside to being in defence was that obviously my grades suffered because I was off out doing all of these random field exercises attached to 1, 2 and 3 RAR. My grades weren't the best. So when I went to go apply for an internship or apply for a position in a law firm, they'd say, okay, go get your grades, because that's the only thing we can apparently judge you on.
They actually look at your GPA?
Yeah. Yeah, hard. Legal profession. Yep, 100%. And so I had to take a job as a, not a legal job, but a quasi-legal job as a legal advisor to the workers' comp regulator. So effectively a state government advisor. And learnt all about workers' comp, and that was fine. When I did my degree, I knew that I wanted to do employment law as a primary focus. I also knew that I wanted to do military law, but that's not a subject that's actually taught at university. It's an amalgamation of a few different areas of law. And so when I finally hit, the legal world as a advisor, my real objective was to get into a private firm where I could start assisting diggers or assisting members. So I had to basically, suck eggs for 2 years to demonstrate that I had the ability to sort of do the work in any capacity before I went and applied with runs on the board already to a law firm. And then I got my first sort of legal job at the end of 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say, we were speaking before about the biggest problem with transition, or with soldiers, sailors and airmen, issues that they're having currently is that transition process and losing your identity and purpose and all that? Would you say that because you're sort of already in the throes of starting a new life that was a bit easier for you?
Yeah, hard out. Easy. Like, if I didn't have study to focus on when I left defence, I have no idea where I'd be. I remember 2 sergeants rocked up to my door on the 14th of October, because it's a whole backstory as to how I actually left defence that gave rise to me getting an apology. I got a termination decision at 9:08 p.m. on the 13th of October, and I got told that my termination would be effective at 00:01 the next day. And I said, can I redress that? And they said, yes, you've got 14 days to redress that, which I think was the applicable time frame then. Completely untrue. Once you're out of defence, you lose the right to redress. Same CSM told me that. I don't know why I relied on his advice at that time. He tried to shake my hand, and I was like, I actually don't think I will. I don't think you're a very good person. But I recall that when those 2 sergeants came to pick me up, I had to organise for 2 of my mates to pack up my room because I didn't have enough time. At that time, I thought that my final charge that resulted in my termination would be successfully overturned. And I found out, 2 years later, that paperwork never made it to the Chief of Army's office for what's called a service chief review. And the legal officer that did that particular job, as I understand it, received a formal warning for his significant administrative failure. But I recall that, I basically jumped on my motorbike with a backpack full of clothes, and I left the what would be the south gate of Laverack at the time, because the main gate was being renovated. And I think I basically cried from Counsel through to Cardwell, pulled over, got fuel. Some woman asked if I was okay, and I was like, yeah, I'll be sweet. And then continued driving to Cairns, still crying the entire way.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't a good transition.
Definitely affected you.
There was no, hey, you need to go to transition cell, which is now a thing, I think. They're going to walk you through your admin. They're going to walk you through your march out. They're going to show you what you need to do to go to med, to go to dental, to go to wherever, to get your DVA files. They're going to have a meeting with DVA on the way out, and start preloading your DVA claims. Here's an amount of funding that you can receive to requalify into some other trade on the way out, because that's a real thing now. I think you can get up to like a diploma or a Cert 4.
You get 26 days and $6,000, I think it is.
Yeah, got nothing. But got punted out with less than 3 hours notice or 4 hours notice.
That's insane.
Yeah, not a good time. But I got an apology, so feels good, man.
Fuck. Yeah, so you, what was the, how long did it take to bounce back?
Emotionally? Oh, months. Yeah, like.
What were you doing to cope?
A study.
Yeah.
That's it. It's the only thing I could do. Yeah, no, like I'm not I wasn't and never have been into sort of excessive, anything.
Drown yourself in a bottle? Or?
No, I couldn't do it to myself. Couldn't do it if I wanted to. Don't enjoy it that much. I think I only got drunk maybe twice when I was in the army. And once was a mate challenged me to a drinking contest for fun. And we had to both drink jugs of some beer, but he put 8 shots of vodka into mine. He is now a chief petty officer, right? I won't say his name, but, a really good guy.
Sounds like he belongs in the Navy.
That is Navy shenanigans for sure. It was a really, really hard transition. And if I didn't have study to sort of tether myself to the world, what is my next short-term goal? Okay, it's this assignment. What is my next short-term goal after that? It's this assignment. What's after that? An exam. You just focus on that, and eventually you kind of just feel better. I threw myself right into gym. I got into powerlifting. I was living with my at my house with my brother and his partner, and he was a bit offended because he was just upset that he had to clean up one of his rooms to make room for me. That was his big concern. And I was like, okay, I think there's a bit more going on here, mate, but I'm glad you're upset. Thank you for validating how I feel. Rock on, bro. And then he'd also started a business franchise at that same time. So I jumped in and started working there too. And I think I did that for about 3 or 4 months until eventually I got a job working as a corporate advisor for Apple.
Oh, yeah.
Just on the fly. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, threw in for it and randomly got a call back.
Did you have any psychological services or anything to sort of help you adjust?
No. So at that time, and we were talking about this before, I understand now that you have a whole day at Kapuka where you actually go and get a white card, and they probably explain to you how that works in terms of unlimited psychological care.
Yeah.
When I left, you would get pre-accepted DVA conditions, which if you then went through and did an application for PI, they would then be more easily assessed. So instead of waiting, say, 13, 14 months, you're waiting maybe 6 to 7. I've only recently done that. I haven't, wouldn't know how to do a DVA claim if you paid me to do it, right? I'd say, no, go talk to, I've got one guy I refer to for DVA claims and that's it. But, if I was to leave now, I understand that, I would be able to go and see a psych and just show my white card. And with the recent, amendments to legislation, they can get, they get paid more. So they're actually likely to take it because that was a real issue, I think, is that the nominal rate they would charge a man off the street was not what DVA was willing to pay. So people weren't being able to get care.
Yeah.
Because the DVA rate was half.
Does the rate go up at the same time as that cap, or does it go up for sooner? Do you know?
Oh, I've got no idea when it kicks in.
Yeah.
Like I like people ask me, I get phone calls all the time. Like because I practice military law. People assume that I do all forms of military law. Haven't got a clue about DVA.
If you've ever had to lodge a DVA claim, you know how it can feel like a full-time job. Between the endless paperwork, the complex fine print, and trying to navigate the bureaucracy, the system can completely wear you down. That is exactly why we've partnered with Kai Baldwin and the team at BAC, Baldwin Advocacy and Claims. Kai and his team are professional advocates. Their entire job is to step into your shoes, take over the communication with DVA, and ensure you actually get the support and outcomes you're entitled to. You don't have to stress over the jargon or spend months fighting the system on your own. BAC handles the heavy lifting from start to finish. What I respect most about Kai is his straightforward approach. BAC operates on a completely fixed fee. There's no hidden percentages, no guessing games, and they have strict ethical standards built into how they operate. I want you to know I don't take this recommendation lightly. I truly believe Kai has your back. You don't have to navigate the DVA system alone. Let the professionals handle it. Head over to baldwinclaims.com.au and see how Kai and the BAC team can help. Back to the show.
Or retrospectives, medical separations, or applications to the awards tribunal for gongs that you should have got during Vietnam. I've had a couple, probably 2-3 hour conversations with Vietnam veterans about how they didn't get a medal and how it kills them every Anzac Day because their mates got it and they feel less than because of that. And I'm like, I just don't think you're seeing it through the right frame.
Yeah,
they know you went, and that's you went, and that should be enough. But for some guys, it's really like a significant thing.
Yeah, the accolades thing. I don't know if it's like a lot of our personalities that join the military that like those little accolades and recognition for what we've done, or maybe the fact that we don't get any attaboys when we're in, and the medals and awards is the only thing that makes us feel like we're doing a good job.
Male validation is a real thing.
Yeah.
Getting a guy to be like, mate, I love what you've done here.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, for sure.
We've all got, absent parent, absent father issues going on.
Yeah, anybody from the 80s and 90s.
So to have some other random guy jump in and be like, man, that was cool as. You're like, oh, thanks, bro.
Yeah, thanks, Dad. I mean, bro.
I want to shake your hand. Thanks, bro. No, look, I mean, I've never chased medals. And that's what I was saying, when you get those majors that, they transition from looking down to looking up. They're chasing those accolades. They're chasing the CSCs.
Yeah, I want to get my gong shape bigger than his.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not, I'm not going to say it's not healthy or it's not unhealthy, but we were talking about this before too. I think service is an intent to serve is an intent to serve. It doesn't stop when you close the door. When you leave defence, you close that chapter of your life. And at the same time, if you're joining for accolades, you're joining for the wrong reason. You should be joining to serve.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like I served, and then I went and worked as a rehab consultant to work with the boys and help them with their transition or their recovery to get back into work. And then I started a podcast, and now I serve in a different way.
Oh, mate, it's valuable work.
Conversations.
It's valuable work. And, Matty Morris has talked about this, I think, once on his podcast, is the impact that these podcasts will have in, 20, 30, 40 years in recording the stories of people.
Yeah, military history.
That's it. Bang on. Yep. Because, if we had this sort of stuff going on post-Vietnam, we'd probably have a totally different view. We know, because we're ex, that those guys got hate when they got back. But if we knew what they actually did in full, we probably wouldn't, the general public probably wouldn't have that same view.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
So it's only now that we're, the last sort of 5 to 10 years, that we're actually saying, actually, we, as a population, we treated those people pretty badly.
Yeah.
But for nothing.
Yeah, poor bastards.
Anyway.
I've had 2 of them on. I was wanting to get a few Vietnam vets and try and get their stories out there.
Crazy stories.
It's like the referencing the World War II gongs over there from my granddad. It's like those boys. Like, we'll never know what they did, how they felt, what they went through. Like, that's gone. But I would love to have had a podcast of my granddad to hear his stories and what went on over there.
I couldn't even begin to imagine. I mean, if we look at conventional warfare today of, SOTG running through at night against an unconventional enemy party or force where we've got MVG and maybe they don't. And obviously I'm not an operator. I'm not at all qualified to speak about this, but comparing, 6 months in Afghanistan, which would obviously be pretty brutal, versus 9 months, in a trench, getting shelled.
Yeah.
You can't do anything. Those are two vastly different experiences. No discredit to either
12
one.
months. The Vietnam posting was 12
months. Again, crazy. And again, totally different combat as well. I mean, we look at conventional warfighting today, it's a lot of drones, huge amount of drone warfare going on. But in Vietnam, you've got visibility of 2 feet at all times.
Yeah, and popping out of fucking tunnels. And
Nuts. I mean, if I had to be more concerned about a drone, I would be more concerned in Vietnam than I would be with a drone for sure in terms of...
Can you hear?
Yeah, because in Vietnam, also significant booby traps.
Yeah.
And they're terrible. They're terrible things.
Yeah.
Getting
staked through the heart with a wooden fucking...
That's it. And I just imagine my anxiety or stress level having 2 feet visibility all the time versus walking into an open field. Different.
Yeah.
Different times.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Crazy.
Yeah. No, so having the stories and stuff is super important. That gives us a bit of a luxury with future generations will have access to that. I actually told someone told me the other day you should get on the War Memorial to get onto them to pick up your podcast so that if you die and your YouTube channel goes away, that the stories will live on.
Be recorded, yeah. Hard out.
Not a bad idea. I'll have to leave my login and password somewhere for for someone to find. Speaking of advocacy groups, just partnered. Grey Man has partnered with Kai Baldwin at
Baldwin Advocates.
Yeah,
that's my dude.
Is it?
That's the only guy I refer people to.
Fucking there you go. We refer to the same person.
Good guy.
Kai has just sponsored the podcast, so official partner of the Grey Man podcast.
Everyone wait there. I'll give you his personal number. Call him at midnight. He loves it.
Yeah, no, great dude. I've got very strict guidelines for who I will promote in that field because I think there's a lot of fucking criminals out there. But Kai's a really good dude and he's doing really good things in the space and he's very upfront and legitimate with his costs and services that are very fucking fair. So
yeah,
check him
A
out.
lot of rat bags in that space too.
Yeah.
Part of my work last year is I got engaged by a party for DVA, trying to figure out how to regulate their own system. Because as a legislative body or a statutory body, DVA doesn't actually remove people from their scheme, right? So if you're a dodgy dealer charging veteran 20% of the total fees for the of the cost of a claim, DVA won't do anything about it.
No,
they can't.
They can't.
And so what we realised was that the target wasn't meant to, or should not be the dealers. The individual companies. It should actually be the doctors, because it's the doctors that are actually complicit in this conduct. And it first sort of popped its head in, I think, mid-2024 when a podiatrist in northern New South Wales saw 32 people in one day in person, billed all of them, and these people lived all over Australia.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, mate, I don't think you did that. So the recent amendments to the DVA legislation was to change what's called the provider notes, which limit when or how a provider can bill. The provider must see you once a year, and only after seeing you once a year can they then provide telehealth services. And there was a whole bunch of other sort of issues that came out from one particular group, a particular DVA advocacy group, which is now defunct. They're gone. It put the emphasis on the doctors to regulate their employers, if you will, because the DVA advocacy groups will actually employ the doctors personally. It's not through a clinic, or they might own the clinic. That has been profound. And pros and cons, if you're a rural veteran, you live out in the middle of nowhere, there's no GPs near you, you can't see a doctor, that is going to be a hard time.
Yeah.
That's going to suck. But at the same time, the impact on the scheme, I think the total value of the doctors that were, engaging in a bit of argy-bargy with the DVA scheme is about $250 million a year.
Yeah, right.
Right. through a number of providers. So significant, I won't say fraud. There's no crimes yet. There's no charges, but
Yeah. I think that inner city sort of stuff, like we get flogged with it on, probably come up now because we've been talking about it on Instagram. You get, have you got a white or a gold card? Click here for a free pair of shoes. Or
that's exactly them.
Yeah.
That's exactly them.
That's the group, yeah.
That's the group.
Yeah.
Water bottle and a towel, free pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Nah. Think of the model health law, mate. You can't be doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you got that sort of flooded environment, veteran heavy sort of space, and they're just milking it.
Yeah. Well, look, I looked up that particular company. I looked up their location at one point because I had their address, and I've done a full sort of company structure of all of the involved parties, all the shareholders, all of the directors, and provided a bit of advice to a number of parties about how to deal with this group. And I looked up the address on Google Maps, and lo and behold, in the photographs, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Porsche, all this random industrial warehouse. Very, very strange.
You get people saying all the time, like check your My Service to see what you're being charged.
Yep.
That's not fucking possible. It's not on there. I talked to someone the other day and they said, oh, no, you have to go to your GP and ask your GP to print it out.
Yep.
That's the only way you get it.
Yeah. So there are, you can go through your GP. There is also an email address, I don't have it on me, where you can email DVA and they will actually send you a list so you can actually see what you've been charged for. But that's, if you're at that stage, it's probably too late. You've already been billed a huge amount, or DVA has. But you can still report that, as improper practice, improper care. There are agencies that do that sort of work and they regulate, APRA is the big one, because behind every GP consult that didn't happen, there's a GP signing off on that.
Yeah. Yeah, to get the money, yeah.
Yeah.
Dodgy. Oh. You went to the
what do you got?
Schultz and BRS. I was just reading there.
Limited involvement, but
so yeah, how does it all build up? So you did your degree. What did you start working after? So your goal was always to get back into the military side of things.
So you've just speared away from Schultz and BRS?
No, I'll come back to that. I want to know how you built up into that. So you've like me, I guess. When I became an exercise physiologist, I was like, I'm doing this because I want to work with veterans and first responders, and even current serving as like prehab to reduce some of the injuries people are coming out with, because I've understood as myself as a veteran what it felt like. It kind of feels like you're doing the same. You wanted to get into law to help in that space.
Yeah. So I knew when I left defence that with administrative termination, they're probably going to hold it against me for 5 years. As in, if I wanted to reapply, I would not be eligible or suitable through appointments or promotions and enlistment, whatever the division's called, for 5 years. So I thought, I'm just going to use the next 5 years to better myself, to improve my my education background, and to develop into a person who they would see as being suitable for a career in defence. And hot tip, by the time I reached that point, I didn't want to be in defence anymore. I wanted to absolutely hammer terrible hierarchy.
Did you want to go in as a defence lawyer?
Yeah. Yep. So I thought going through, my goal was when I applied to do DAS was to then apply to join the Defence Force Legal Corps. And top of my head, there was a Corporal Hannah Pinsner at DPTC when I was there, and she disappeared midway through our training course. She wasn't on our training course. She was just a corporal in the area, I guess. And she had done a law degree, and she went off to do her SSO course. And I said, wow, so that's actually possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not. It is, but it's not. It depends on your hierarchy. And I'm going to guess that because she was in an all-corps environment, which was led, because DPTC is all-corps, led by a Air Force wing commander who has an understanding of good leadership and expectations. He said, yeah, you can definitely do that. I've got no issues. Army wasn't so friendly to that position. But what ends up happening is I get a job at Apple. I effectively started as a corporate advisor, which, to be fair, was actually really cool. It was based in Sydney, but then transitioned to work from home at my request because most of my family were up in North Queensland in Cairns, which is where I effectively discharged to when I left Counsel. Working from home, and I would get things like, hey, I'm a celebrity. I need one-to-one care with my phone. Can you please help me do this? And you end up talking to random celebrities or their teams or, just mums and dads as well, to give them one-to-one support. And Apple, as a company, actually pretty good. If you've got a bit of a profile or you're having a hard time with your phone and there's a legitimate issue, they'll just give you a new one. So I had almost an unlimited budget to give away stuff. And I remember at one point I had a company that made, I won't say who because probably shouldn't, but a company that makes animated movies. And they were hinging this entire movie on two devices that had stopped working. And I just said, oh, cool, I'll give you 2 for free. And the total value was like 48 grand.
Oh, shit.
Just sent it to them. No dramas. There you go. Like they just let me do that. I then move into workers' comp until about 2020, 2019. And before that, I'd already recognized that I needed to improve my legal knowledge, my acumen in terms of my ability. Not for any good reason other than I felt I could do better. So in about 2019, I started doing a Masters of Law at UQ, which had a focus on subjects I thought would be attractive to an employer, being equity and litigation. Equity sort of just runs parallel to law. It's ecclesiastic in terms of, he who comes to the court must come with clean hands. If you've engaged in fraud, you can't rely upon that fraud to then obtain a benefit. If you delay, you lose your right to commence proceedings. These are equitable principles. It's effectively now merged with law or common law as a practice. The other major area was litigation, and that's because, at some point there's going to be a dispute. At some point we're going to go to court. At some point you're going to have to do what you call a pleading, which is how you argue your case to a court. And I just thought, well, those seem like 2 areas that if I was an employer, I would probably want to have those in my arsenal. So I just said, I'll go study those. Turns out equity is just a huge amount of reading because it goes back to, 1200. I ended up getting into the legal profession at the end of 2019, but then COVID hits and I get made redundant. And I was pretty upset by that because working as an advisor to state government, you're on a PO band. You're getting paid irrespective. If I get stood down from work, I'd just be on holiday, due to COVID. But I gave that up effectively to go work for a law firm and then almost immediately got made redundant. Shit. So I remember, being in my apartment looking at the line to Centrelink, being like, how long is it going to take me to get in today? I've got to get my omnibus payment. Because they increased the payments, during COVID. And then within about, I think maybe 2 months, I was on LinkedIn. Just a really uncanny way of getting a job interview. Someone put up a post on LinkedIn saying, this is me being lippy, by the way. We've had a really good outcome today. We're really pleased to have won this court case, and they've posted up the decision. And they were effectively bragging about beating a person who was unrepresented legally. And I wrote up like, what a great victory, beating an unrepresented lay litigant. Better question here is, how did you not resolve this before having to go to final hearing? Like, what sort of a lawyer would boast about beating an unrepresented litigant? And I said it to a mate, like, that's wild. And he turned to me and said, you don't brag about having sex with a prostitute. That's crazy.
I pulled the hottest chick.
Yeah.
Only cost me $300.
Yep, that's it. Bang on. And some lawyer at a partner at a firm saw that and said, hey, do you want to come in for an interview? That seems to be a pretty good approach. And
oh, really?
Yeah. You just, you recognize that that's just ridiculous. And I said, yeah, cool, man, let's do it. So he just said, come in for a coffee. And I was like, oh, like job interview? No, not a job interview. Not a job interview. Just come in for a coffee. And I said, okay, cool, let's do that. And I said, all right, well, I'll be at the gym and then I'll come by afterwards. He said, okay, cool. So I've turned up in gym gear. And he's like, you're here for a job interview. Why are you wearing gym gear? And I said, you said this was not a job interview. You said this was just for a coffee to say good day. And I'm not employed, so it seemed like a pretty good deal. Free coffee. And he said, no, mate, it is a job interview. Everything is. And I was like, okay, well, that's my bad. But, he gave me a job. I worked there for maybe about just over a year or thereabouts. And the pros and cons, pro, small firm, as a lawyer, you have to do everything. There is no, I'll get the senior to deal with it, or I'll have this other team deal with this other unrelated legal issue that's not really in my practice area. So the result is that you have to grow as a lawyer. You have to develop these areas of law, have to expand your practice areas. Downside is the exact same. You have to do everything. Every document that goes out is from you. There is no magical way to make it appear. ChatGPT doesn't exist. Not that I use it. But the other downside is that firm was reluctant to expand into administrative law in terms of military matters. Whereas I'd basically gone through my undergraduate reading all of these subjects or all the cases that would apply with a view of how might they apply in the defence space. And that made it a lot easier to pick up because you can then tie it back to, an administrative decision that relates to that particular matter. So, you're reading this case that talks about this. Oh, I've been in a situation like that. And you can tie the learning together with the real world experience to make it a lot easier to pick up, which is a great way to learn, is to have practical, use of the knowledge.
Yeah.
So then I remember I had 3 matters against this other firm, and the lawyer on the other side was just really reasonable, and just a really sort of good guy to deal with. And I called him up one day once we finished these 3 matters and said, hey, look, are you guys recruiting? And he said, yeah, we are. Do you want to have a job interview? And I said, yeah, sure. I said, okay. Half an hour? And I said, all right. Do I have to wear a tie? No. Yeah, done. It's a key requirement of my work that I don't like wearing ties. And I've turned up and he said, okay, so his first question is, what are your values? And, I don't have a pre-prepared answer to that sort of a question going into a job interview. Some people do, and I just said, initiative, teamwork, courage, and respect, which the listeners will recognise as the defence values. And he said to me straight away, those are the defence values.
No.
And I said, yeah, I was in defence. And he then pulled out my resume because obviously he hadn't read it despite the fact I sent it to him. And he said, were you in defence? And I said, yeah. He goes, what'd you do? And I said, military police. And he goes, I was military police. And I was like, cool. And that was effectively the job interview and just the start of a conversation with a mate. So I got that job. They were, as a firm, a lot more willing to let me expand into defence law and to really start sort of spreading my wings. And at the same time, for my own benefit, I didn't want to be sort of siloed to my practice area. So I actually went off and did another master's at the same time.
Yeah, right.
This time at the University of Melbourne, which turned out to be pretty beneficial because coming off the back of COVID, the University of Melbourne obviously lost all of its international students. So universities across Australia were struggling to get students, which isn't a problem for now. It's a problem for 5 years' time when those enrolment fees are due to be paid through whatever institutes are meant to be paying those fees. And they were, for the first time ever, accepting students via correspondence. So I effectively did the entire master's at University of Melbourne from the comfort of my home, which was wonderful. So that was also in part due to my own serious concern that I was actually not a very good lawyer and just needed to get better. So imposter syndrome is a real thing, particularly as a lawyer, because you'll walk into a matter as a lawyer and you'll go, oh, cool, I've been a lawyer for 8 years. And you'll be against another lawyer who's maybe a barrister. King's Counsel, I've been a lawyer for 40 years. And they're telling you that you're wrong. And you've got to somehow actually...
Not go, I am wrong.
Shit. I am wrong. Damn, fraud. Actually, no, mate. You haven't read this correctly.
Beyond all that bravado and
you've got
stuff, there's still a bit of imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what effectively, in part, drove me to do my first degree and also my first master's, and then also my second, is just, I don't know what I don't know. And it's not that that's worrying, because you will learn, but it's the way in which you learn it. Do you learn it at the back end of a court case where you've gone ahead and absolutely failed to look at something properly? Or do you learn it through your own education personally in your own time? And I said I'd rather be the latter than the former, because the former is probably a bad time for me.
Yeah.
So that had a focus on administrative law and a bit of employment law. And from effectively that point on, I ended up being able to do whatever sort of matter I wanted that came across my desk, and it really expanded into from just employment into workers' comp, health and safety, criminal inquests, and also military law. And
Still the same firm?
Well, that was the second firm. That was the one.
Is that where you're still now?
No. So I ended up jumping again. So in 2023, into 23, I got headhunted by an international firm, and I'd had a number of matters against that firm in the same year, and had pretty good outcomes in each of those matters, either resolved through like a mediation in a employment context, or had a claim accepted in my favour in workers' comp. And
is that a common thing for people to poach the enemy that does a good job against them?
Yeah, because it's like defence, like the same reason that a sergeant will rotate from 1 RAR to 2 RAR and bring with him knowledge, or you'll go from being a sniper cell corporal back into the school of infantry to pass on knowledge directly. Same thing applies. Law firms, I think intrinsically want to get better, want to produce better work, and that means just at some point reaching out saying, "Hey, you've done really well here. Do you want to come and build out our practice area and help us grow?" So they tried 3 times over the course of 2023 to get me in for a meeting, and I wasn't super interested, because working with that dude that was also ex-defense was actually really, really good. We got along really well. We had no issues. We bounced ideas off each other. We'd go for lunch, and just talk about life and work, and it was just a great working environment. And he eventually had a kid and said, "I'm going to start working less." And I said, "Well, I don't know if I can work here without you." And he said, "Well, I'm probably going to be leaving." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll go look at this other firm that keeps on trying to knock on my door." And I ended up going to work for that firm, and they effectively had me start their Brisbane office for employment law. Wasn't bad, wasn't a bad time. I wanted to continue to do the defence work, and they were really, really against it, because they were tendering for that work to government. So they wanted to work for defence in helping defence draft, say, a decision on separation.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to be very much responding to that notice, which gave rise to a bit of a conflict. And I had a couple of matters, and the partner kind of flagged, "Oh, look, I'm not too sure that we can keep this up." But at the same time, because I had continued to do this work and word of mouth progressed on, as people do, I was getting 2 to 3, new matters a week, which is a fair bit as far as, work goes. And they sort of said, "Look, we can't continue to let you do this work." And I said, "Okay, well, I might just go off by my own self then, because it's a big step, but I'm pretty sure if I can continue to get this work in through word of mouth, then, I'll be able to survive." So in middle of 2024, I started Tailored Legal, which is employment, workers' comp, health and safety, a little bit of commercial, but not really. And also started Soldiers Legal Counsel, which is military administrative law, military justice, military discipline, and review and appeals.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm still punched on now.
Is it grown, or is it just you?
No, it's just me. I'm not against growing as a firm, but at the same time, I've tried to interview people to go into Soldiers Legal Counsel to come on as a junior lawyer. So I should say I've got me, special counsel, and 2 admin staff. And I've tried to bring in another person into Soldiers Legal Counsel at a junior level. But to find someone who either is junior, but willing to adopt the nature of the tonality that I apply in terms of how I do the work is incredibly difficult. And at the same time, the only people that would then be suitable for employment might be, say, former legal officers themselves.
Mm.
And they don't take the same approach. They take a very apologetic approach. Whereas sometimes an apology is not warranted. Sometimes it's a straight, hey, sir, thank you for your letter. You are completely incorrect. If you want to do this, you can, but it's going to be embarrassing for you. So that's finding the right sort of person for that sort of work is actually really difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Pretty niche. Looking back, we'll get to BRS in a sec. Looking back on your military career, 2 questions. One, you didn't do too long and you got admin SEPT. Did you or do you consider yourself a veteran?
I wouldn't use that term now. No. So I know in other countries they have veteran, combat veteran, different delineations. I think Nathan Tolman did a great piece on what is a veteran. I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, right.
I think personally, I think you need to deploy operationally to get that moniker. But at the same time, it also doesn't come up very often where people say, "Are you a veteran?" I just say, "Oh, look, I was in defence."
Yeah.
But if I'm in that sort of a circumstance, I'm probably wearing a red beret, which Anzac Day, so people sort of pick up pretty quick.
So you do go to Anzac Day.
Yeah.
Celebrate,
yeah, for sure. I mean, we were talking about this before, just because that chapter of your life closes doesn't mean, if you join defence to serve, your desire to serve does not stop with the chapter closing. And that's in part why I've started Soldiers Legal Counsel, is because I think I can still serve, but it's to the members of defence as opposed to the Australian community itself.
Yeah.
But no, I wouldn't say I'm a veteran.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, yeah, technically. But.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you for your service. Would you do it again?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep, easily. And look, would I have done things differently? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. There's a thing that, because I get often clients that don't, people that call me up for advice and they don't turn into clients. That's fine. I'm not worried about that. I think last year I did something like 220 consults. So 220 people or whatever it is called me up and said, hey, what can I do? Maybe 40 converted into actual paid work. Not concerned. But what becomes really, really apparent is that the central issue in most people's matters is stress about not knowing what other people are thinking.
Mm.
Right? Like, I think my sergeant doesn't like me, therefore I'm going to fill in that space with an assumption that he must be out to get me because he had a conversation, he had a rock with me, a record of conversation with me where he told me, I need you to do this. And it might be, I need you to be on time. And he's doing that because he doesn't like me and therefore he's bullying me.
Mm. No, he's doing that because that's his job.
Yeah, well, yeah, correct. So what I would probably explain to myself a bit earlier on is, I think it's called Johari's window. So the known knowns, unknown knowns, known unknowns, unknown unknowns.
Oh, yeah.
You've got sort of 2 sectors that you can actually deal with. Don't worry about the rest.
Yeah.
They're not in your sphere, right? Do your job, do the best you can. People try to infer in their matters that people are often out to get them. Well, the way that defence works often is that the way that people say they're out to get you is they'll tell you in correspondence. Or it'll be pretty clear as day. There's one of my matters which I've flicked through to you, which I can share publicly, where the decision maker, complainant, and investigator were all the same person. A captain. And, that resulted in me doing a response, 6 pages. Mate, I think you woke up and chose to be stupid today. And I'm quite happy to give you the beating that you should have got going through, whatever training course you went through administratively. So much so that I'm going to CO your CO, your group captain equivalent, so that you understand how stupid you've been in this matter. And it resulted in me being on a phone, me there, him sitting there, my client sitting here, and him passing over a piece of paper saying, I withdraw those allegations. But, as I have it from my client, the guy's shaking.
No.
And it's because he's been told, mate, what the hell are you doing? Which goes to a whole side piece that I don't think defence senior command always know what's actually happening in units, and that's, I think, to be expected. Every unit is like a business, but
well, like your warrant officer never passed on the intel to the OC and stuff.
Yeah, but to answer your question, I'd go back. And like defence and I have had a bit of a strange history. So I did reapply to be a legal officer in the Army in 2019 after being out for, at that time, 5 years. And selections and appointments said, no, you've previously been administratively removed. We're not going to change that position. And I said, okay, cool, no dramas. In 2021, when I started doing the defence work, about a year after that, I then received a phone call out of the blue from a Louis Colonel saying, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Are you in Brisbane? And I said, yeah, I am. Why? Well, we'd like to have an interview with you about potentially rejoining defence. And I said, I'm not currently an applicant. Oh, no, but we'd like you to rejoin. And I said, okay, that's random that you guys are calling me. I'm actively litigating against you in 6 matters. Like I'm actively calling you guys out. And I rocked up to this meeting the next day with a Louis Colonel and a Major, and they grilled me for about 2 hours on, what is the training package that legal officers get? What are the primary functions of, command legal advice, administrative legal advice, discipline and operational legal advice, and where can you be posted, and what's the pay, and all the questions you get going through your DI interview at Kapuka for about 2 hours. And he said, mate, yep, loved it, great. Next round of intakes, we're going to call you up, and we want you to apply. And I said, all right, cool. Let's see how this works out. So I got a phone call about 4 months later from an Air Commodore saying, hey, yep, apply to be in the Air Force. We'll take you. I said, cool, let's do it. Put in the application and then got rejected by selections and appointments. And I was like, what? I don't understand what's going on here. How did I get here? So I've got a couple good phone numbers in my phone that I just see now and just go, nah, I'm sweet, thanks. That Louis Colonel, that Air Commodore, just wasting my time. So probably won't be reapplying anytime soon.
So tell me about this. I didn't obviously read the last section there, that Schultz matter and the BRS. What involvement have you got in that?
Not a huge amount. That was thrown in there just in case you wanted to discuss active matters that defence might be interested. But
talking about like that we know it's he's getting publicly crucified, but it's more. This is a completely different thing. It's a burden of proof.
Oh, mate, he's. I think Ben Roberts-Smith is going to do very well out of this matter.
Yeah, well, you look at any lawyer's Facebook or Instagram, and they explain it in detail that this is a legal matter, not a maybe he did or didn't matter.
Yeah, well, it's not a defamation proceeding. Look, I think it's going to be pretty interesting. My involvement with Schultz was to assist in securing funding. That's how I first met a couple of the guys over West. They had a GoFundMe set up. From what I can tell, or from what the documents say anyway, it seems that the Defence Force reached out to GoFundMe and had them shut down that GoFundMe.
Yeah. Because
you can't use GoFundMe funds to fund a criminal defence of a criminal act.
Oh, true.
Yep. But that wasn't the purpose of what the GoFundMe was set up for. It was set up to support the families instead, which, as I understand it, and I think it's public knowledge now, that when Schultz was named as Soldier C, off the back of the Four Corners killing field, David McBride matter, he was having people drive past his house. So that money became pretty useful to, I think, relocate his family. My involvement was to reach out to those operators and say, look, just give me a heads up if you guys need a hand. I'll throw some free work at it. And I think less than a week later, GoFundMe shut it down and refused to release the funds. I smashed out a couple quick letters to GoFundMe, putting them on notice of the fact that I'm about to sue them into oblivion, and like a manna from heaven,
They released it.
They released it, yeah.
Well done.
Baby steps. BRS, I can't talk hugely about it. Just the stuff that's sort of public. I've got one witness in that matter, who I think is going to be pretty decisive. But I do have some real concerns with the way that the defamation proceeding was run. And it's all public. You've got to sort of read it all, I guess. But my biggest concern is, to an extent, why didn't the Court of Appeal permit, despite the decision that they've given, why didn't they permit the amendment of the appeal document to include information that effectively set out that Emma Robert-Smith was actively accessing Ben Robert-Smith's email address in obtaining this trial strategy, which Nick McKenzie, as far as I can tell, on audio recording has confirmed that he did. And there's a bit more to that. If you're effectively saying that Nick McKenzie's done that, are you not also then saying that the defence barrister was aware of that and using that information to rely upon it? Isn't that of some concern? And the Court of Appeal, rejected the appeal document, rejected the application to amend. Bearing in mind that barrister then went on to receive some further accolades. So I think that's really concerning.
Yeah, right.
But yeah.
How long do you think it'll take, all of this?
Criminal matters I don't do criminal law as a primary practice, but I do sort of touch on it when members have got criminal matters that run parallel to administrative matters. Look, they can take years, If we look at the defamation proceeding, if that was a criminal matter, that started in 2019? It was impacted by COVID for about 8 months, but then otherwise we got a decision dropped in 2025, or maybe in 2024. So we actually got two decisions. We got the open court decision and then the closed court decision. So, Justice Basenko working pretty hard there, but and to his credit, huge. It's a huge decision. That's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, trial in Australian history. I wouldn't be half surprised if this matter with BRS takes at least another 8 to 10 months for the brief of evidence to drop, and then arraignment takes another year, and then in terms of disqualifying witnesses or notices of tendency evidence and whatever else that goes into a criminal matter, 2 to 3 years minimum.
Yeah. And 2 to 3 years of him getting dragged through the mud. Well,
look, to his credit, and I had a quick conversation with him about this, he's got no issues defending himself. I think he said it pretty clearly and with great dignity in a recent, public comment he made with his partner after being released on bail, is he's got no drama standing up for himself and saying what he did honestly. You really couldn't have said what he said in that particular press conference any better than what I think he did. He's got no animosity towards the people who are giving evidence against him. It really shows his character. And if that is the character that he has, straight off the bat, he doesn't strike me as the sort of person that would do what is alleged to have done.
And financially, is it going to be fucking crushing?
Well, I don't think Kerry Stokes is involved in this one. I think other parties have come forward with a good amount of funding.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think the DPP or the CDPP engage in this sort of malarkey where they think, we can just litigate this person into the ground financially and they'll give up. I don't think that's going to be happening.
And if he beats all the charges, walks out of there not guilty, does he bounce back in the eyes of Australia, you think?
Well,
it's just going to be the same divide as it is now.
To an extent, there are going to be people that say he got, it's like O.J. Simpson. O.J. is actually a great example because matters reversed. He had a criminal charge up front and then lost a civil case on the back end for wrongful death. And I think he paid $28 million in reparations, which, obviously bankrupted him. But BRS, defamation case up front and then a criminal matter. There are still people in the world that think OJ did it, irrespective of what a criminal jury said.
Nearly all of them.
Nearly all of them. Nearly all of them.
Pretty sure everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Not to draw parallels between BRS and OJ, but look, I hope so. The way that he's sort of carried himself so far in the matter, the way that he has clearly always maintained his position, the way that he has addressed the media and really sort of approached these matters is not the sort of conduct that I would expect to see from a person who was actually guilty, trying to conceal their guilt. Bearing in mind, I don't do criminal law, right? We don't see, Nathan Bader Clay doing a press conference saying, I didn't kill my wife. Well, actually, I think he did. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, pretty...
I've had regard to some of the evidence, which I can't talk about, but I think it's going to be a very different landscape in this proceeding to the first.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah, well, I mean, if credibility becomes a significant turning point in the validity and acceptance of evidence, then I suspect that we'll have a significantly different outcome.
For sure. So Soldiers Legal Counsel, that's you. See significantly poor decisions, poor advice to soldiers. Hierarchy, trying to make things administratively easier. Yeah, make it uncomfortable so they fuck off themselves.
Yeah. Oh, look, if anyone asks me, what's the biggest concern to defence in the moment, it's its own senior leadership. That is the biggest threat to Australia's leadership.
What leadership?
What is the biggest threat to Australia's defence? It's senior leadership.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I've seen some recent decisions come out of the military personnel branch where, and we've talked about this before, we've got copy pasting.
Yeah.
And copy pasting the same errors, copy pasting the same paragraphs relating to a totally different alternative response, saying you admitted to this, bearing in mind both of these people are my clients. This person admitted to it. This person did not. But yet the decision provided refers to person 2, which didn't admit anything, to admission of something. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. And what sort of leadership is that level that would be writing that up or copy and pasting it?
Oh, that'd be Louis Colonel to Colonel.
Yeah, right.
Yep. You really would expect better. And I know that when I get engaged in a matter and separations or military personnel branch receive a letter from me, that there is a flurry in the office. I've got, through the work, I've got enough sort of connections, people that sort of tell me to some extent what's going on, or, hey, defence is looking at implementing this sort of a policy, that I'll get sort of a heads up on what's happening. And for a while there, I think the military police cell sat next to the legal cell in Canberra. And that was hilarious, because I would get like a phone call from a random phone number on Signal saying, hey, my ex-partner is military police and she's in Canberra listening to legal talk about your correspondence, and they are so concerned about how to address it. That's fantastic to hear. Warms my heart to know that instead of just saying, oh, I'm so sorry, I won't do this again, I've learnt my lesson. When the termination letter is already drafted and I then jump in and say, actually, nah, you're completely wrong. You've not read this document. You've somehow said this document says this when it absolutely does not, which is actually really common. Like, I can't believe how common that is.
Put a lot of words in there and people go, oh, okay.
Well, yeah, bullshit baffles brains. But
yeah,
like, I've seen letters where, with this allegation is substantiated because this person has said that you have said this. And then I read that record of conversation. The person didn't say that at all.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I can't believe that even occurs. And then that's just the evidentiary basis in terms of whether the grounds exist to take action in the first place. You've then got sort of the procedural matters that go into it as well. Like, did the accused person, the alleged perpetrator, have the right to respond? Were they provided all the evidence? Did they have access to the policy? Were they given an appropriate period of time to respond? Those are all considerations as well, which are just becoming more and more and more prevalent the more work I do. And then that's not even including matters where the complainant, which might be a person of hierarchy, sergeant or a corporal, has effectively previously received a complaint about their conduct from that person. And what I'm now looking at in a show cause notice is effectively reprisal action. And it's premised on nothing. You know, I don't know, I had a matter last week where, you know, the member said something like, oh, you know, Corporal, you do actually complain about these things, so I need to be onto them. And in return, this person's getting a show cause formal warning for insubordination. But that should be a charge. You don't administratively, you know, that brings out, and this is an argument I pull out pretty often, as it goes to, you know, the appropriateness of administrative action over discipline action. And this is actually something that Jim Gaynor, CSC, wonderful guy, the IG ADF has picked up, is that the administrative system is not it should not be used in lieu of the discipline system.
Yeah, it's like a threat, or, you know, pull your head in, or we're going to kick you out.
Like, I'm going to give you a formal warning because you've been insubordinate to me. Well, insubordination is a discipline offence. You can't substantiate or allege that I've engaged in insubordination unless I've effectively been through a discipline process. They can, to be fair, they can. But whether that is insubordination or not is not a finding that's yet been made because you haven't charged that person. But if you do an administrative process, you're instantly giving yourself, the defence force, a lower burden of proof. It's no longer, you know, beyond reasonable doubt. It's now balance of probabilities. And the subsequent issue that follows on from that is if you had done the discipline offence, that person could have appealed potentially to a DFDAT, to the Defence Force Discipline Appeals Tribunal. But you've now deprived that court of the right to hear that charge, which to me is a contempt. Right? You can't deprive, you're interfering with the proper course of justice by going administratively over a discipline. And I think Jim Gaynor is effectively sort of circling in on that. I know that he's a judge that used to be based in Brisbane, Judge John Logan, Federal Court. He wrote an entire article called Marching the Guilty Bastard. Wonderful judge, you know, lovely guy. He sat at the head of the Defence Force Discipline Appeals Tribunal for, I think, 20 years as a civil judge, because it's an appellate body. And I think that entire article effectively says, I'm waiting for someone to make a contempt of court argument. Please bring it to me, because I want to make a determination on it. And we finally got one last year. 2 years ago. I got roped in by this other law firm who had commenced the proceedings. And I said, that's it. We were in front of Judge Logan. You know, we've got this matter where they've done exactly what he's talking about. We need to amend this application, or we need to file a secondary application seeking a declaration, which is what court gives. A court gives either orders or a declaration. We need to seek a declaration that there has been contempt. And the barrister that we engaged didn't want to do it. He was trying to become a judge, and he said, "Oh, it's too contentious. It's too adversarial. It's too." And I just said, "Mate, you're getting paid to do a job. You go do it." And he didn't want to do it. So, mate, heartbreaking.
Are you busy? Is there a lot of soldiers being charged and things going on? And
yeah. Look, there's probably more than most people realise. Like I don't have, but I'll be at a DFM, Defence Force Magistrate, starting on the 22nd of June for my mate Daniel Dare. You know, Daniel Dare is a client I picked up. I say mate, he started as a client. He's actually a pretty good guy, even though he's an officer. Like, he's just such a scumbag. He's a good guy. I picked him up as a client, I think, at the end of 2022, and his matter ran until the end of 2025, when he was finally allowed to discharge after being AWOL in the US and other countries for a year and a half.
Yeah, right.
You know, we've got a couple surprises in store for defence on the back end of that matter, which I'm not going to ruin for the ADF legal.
No spoiler alerts here.
I've bookmarked a couple emails which are pretty critical, so I'll be coming back to them once his DFM's over. Assuming he doesn't go to jail for a year for being AWOL. But yeah, look, it is a busy space. Like each matter that I get will probably take somewhere between 10 and 20 hours in terms of preparing a response. And that's assuming it's just one response, because often it's not. Often it's a response and then you do a redress, and typically you get a better outcome on a redress, because that's when you get a set of eyes that don't know the member. The imposition of
non-biased.
Correct. And that's one of the things that, again, Jim Gaynor has picked up. He had the IG-ADF roundtable into the Royal Commission end of last year, which I got invited down to for Sydney, me and about 23 other ESOs, so RSL Australia, RSL Care, every man and his dog turned up to provide information onto the weaponization of administrative systems and processes and bastardization in discipline. And I pointed out a couple things, and I'm happy to see those things pop up in the report that he's done. But one of the things that he has recommended is that COs who oversee a member should not be the party responsible for initiating action against them, because if all they've received in the last sort of 2-3 years or even 3 months of that person's career is negative feedback from that member's direct hierarchy, but they then need to independently consider a response to a show cause notice prior to determining what action to be taken, that person's done.
They're very biased.
They're roasted from the minute they receive the show cause notice.
Sure. Yeah. The WO and the CSM and the OC are in their office every week. I'm just fucking...
Oh, mate, office 001, 002, 003, they're going as Raffers at lunch together, or Subway. Hopefully they're wearing their hats because the MPs will be waiting out the front. Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. It's good to know there's somebody fighting for the little guy, mate. That's good. And obviously you fucking care enough to dig in and find the ways and find exactly what's going on. I'm sure there's other people that would get those two copy and pasted things that wouldn't even fucking notice. No, look, I remember I got mine, and that's a whole story I'll tell one day, but, deer in headlights. This is why you now get assigned a support person. It's not to hold your hand. It's to help you read the documents and make sure you understand them, because the impact that they can have on your career are pretty significant. Like a formal warning, okay. I'll cop a 3-month formal warning, no dramas, okay. But then in a year's time, when you've got another formal warning for something totally unrelated, they're going, you've got 2 formal warnings, we're now going to terminate you. But the first formal warning, might have been complete nonsense. And if you've just taken a 5-minute phone call with someone, not me, doesn't have to be me, you can call Defence Counsel Services. I can't speak to the quality of their work. You might get a bum steer to say, hey, you need to go say this, and that matter might disappear in 5 seconds. And that has happened. I've had matters where I've called up the CO and said, hey, look, my guy's requested documents through the chain of command 3 times, hasn't got them, I'm involved, I'm going to email you directly. I'm going to be on you like white on rice in this matter. Not aggressive, obviously. If you want to refer this to legal, feel free to. Here's my email address, here's my direct phone number. Give that to legal if you want. 10 minutes later, get a phone call from the client. Hey, yep, the matter's been withdrawn. The CEO decided not to proceed. Cool.
Too much paperwork.
Good.
So fuck Good. That extra work.
Good. Oh, well, it's not even that. Like if I'm getting into a matter, and I can see that there is there's a recent matter which is absolutely ridiculous. It's not on my desk anymore. I finished it last week with a great sigh of relief. And I can see that the CO is completely abusing their power or initiating termination processes for really nothing, like parking in the CO's car park, and then I've got witness statements that confirm the CO's made negative comments about a member or about their show cause, and they haven't even read it yet, and they didn't read it. That correspondence to them is not going to be, we are sorry. It's going to be, you are repugnant as a leader, and you should not be permitted to be a leader anymore. We're aware that this show cause response will only be read by you, and if you take no further steps, no one else will ever see it. However, based on the information that I've got, seeing XYZ enclosures, a real holistic view of your career should be taken moving forward. For that reason, I include in this correspondence as a complaint your boss. And suddenly it's no longer just a show cause response, it's now a formal complaint about your conduct.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Do you ever get the other end of that scale where a digger will call you and you're like, "Hey, you're cooked, mate. Cop it."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that happens. I mean, defence is just a cross section of society, right? And then the nature, or what they call it, the exigencies of service, heighten everything. They heighten stress. They heighten abuse. They heighten sexual assaults. They heighten, DV. So I think you're 7% more likely across the board to suffer any one of those things. Yep. So I do get guys that have been done for serious criminal charges like rape, and they'll say, "Hey, I've got a show cause termination letter for rape." Okay. What's happened? Where's the matter at? And they say, "Oh, I pled guilty, 3 months ago." Okay. Well, I can't help you, mate. Well, why? You're a lawyer. You're getting paid to do this. Well, mate, because you don't have any place in the defence force. Like, you've pled guilty to it. Like, you've well and truly done this, if that's what you're saying. Like, I do get those. And yeah, to those men and women, like, I'm not going to do that work. I'm not going to help someone stay in defence that should not be in defence. I've had a guy come to me as an example who doesn't want to do a BFA, doesn't want to do the minimum because he doesn't like his hierarchy, doesn't want to give them the satisfaction of complying with what he's being told to do. And I just said, yeah, mate, like, I have my own reputation to maintain in this space. And if I'm helping people that effectively don't want to be in defence, it actually damages me as well. So I can't help you.
Yeah.
Go and do a BFA, by the way. Don't be a fat fuck.
You sack.
You sack. So there are guys and girls that come in and say, look, I've done this truly terrible thing. And if it is defensible in some way, I've had a matter where the guy was, as an example, I guess on an AVO or a DVO, he wasn't permitted to engage with the partner, but she had actually provided a statement to the police that confirmed that their version of events did not occur. And he was an officer, and the police just proceeded irrespective, and it was still in front of the courts, likely to be thrown out based on her evidence. Oh, yeah. We're just waiting for that court date to attend to pop up. Then yeah, I'll jump into that. Yeah. But it's because I've got it from her, and I've spoken to her, and I've confirmed that he hasn't coerced her to make that statement. That I'll assist that sort of matter. But if you're the sort of person that doesn't belong in defence, I'm not going to bend over backwards to help you because I do this work reduced fee as far as my primary practice is concerned. So it's it's time wise, it's incredibly taxing to jump into a 20-hour matter when I've got other diggers beating on the door who need legitimate help. So
that are actually good humans.
Yeah.
Oh, good on you, dude. Is there anything that you're pushing or promoting at the moment you want to mention?
Mate, not really. Did a shout out obviously to my mate Jared Goundry and Dylan Conway, who came on before me. Jared twice, yeah. He's
we'll need a theme for next one, I reckon. But basically every time he's passing through Brisbane for his tours, he's gonna pop in.
I think he's here next week, 25th.
No, for his official tour.
Oh, rock on.
He comes in Brisbane all the time, but for his once a year tours.
Yeah, rock on. So maybe I don't know, maybe Veteran Games. Veteran Games on this weekend.
This will be out after that. So it's on.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. That's cool. But it's
Saturday, Sunday, right?
Saturday, Sunday down on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, I'm flying to Thailand this weekend.
Mate, enjoy that. That's gonna be great.
Yeah.
More ink?
No. Maybe.
No, maybe.
Never say never.
Have a few beers.
I do have one empty leg.
Mate, that's a lot of canvas to work with.
Dude, last time I got this leg done over in Thailand, 2 tattoo artists at the same time for 17 hours. I did 7 hours on Monday and then 10 hours on Tuesday with one on my upper leg and one on my lower leg. It was traumatic.
Well, the tattoo. Okay, fair credit to you. Those are incredibly fresh looking tattoos.
I think.
I'll come back to the Veteran Games.
You know how they get that fresh?
Really
digging it in.
God, no, I'm clean skin, mate. I've got nothing. But I'll come back to the Veteran Games. But I have seen that the tattoo industry in Australia is actually dying because guys are flying to
big tattoos.
They're flying to like Thailand and Bali, and they're going under anesthesia, and they're getting their entire body done by 4 guys.
Well, that's fucking insane.
And mate, septic shock. Or,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Oh, yeah, I know.
yeah,
Dude, when I got my leg done, that 2 days, I'm an idiot, and I flew home the next day because I didn't want to ruin my trip by being recovering from a tattoo.
Yep.
Flew home the next day. For 2 weeks, my leg was like fucking hard as a rock, and like I had elephantitis. I'll put a photo up on the screen for people.
Yeah.
My fucking ankle was just like an elephant's foot. I sent a photo to my friend who's a GP, and she's like, "Go to the emergency room, fucking now."
You got sepsis. Yeah. Yeah. It's going to hit your heart.
Like, nah, it'll be fine. And I survived. But I've researched it recently, and yeah, people have died.
Yeah.
People have had their legs amputated.
Yep.
Fucking Jesus Christ.
I've
dodged a bullet.
I've got a good mate down on the Sunshine Coast who's a tattoo artist, Matt Black. I don't know if you know him, but he does hyperrealism, and he said that his work's just dropped off because people are going overseas.
Yeah.
But I'm
well,
also,
the place that I go, you don't get put under.
Yeah.
But they do warrior tattoos. So you can get your full back done
right
in 6 hours because I have 4 dudes at the same time.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And it's fucking good. It looks like one person did it.
Well, that would be a concern for me, though, if I was going to get tattoos. Does it look like one person's done it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, okay. Because, like, if the lines don't match up, I'll be a bit upset.
No, they're good. And I had 2 dudes in my leg, and that looks pretty good.
But that's how you get looking really fresh, is deep in.
Oh, this one was one dude. This was in Australia. This is Paragon Tattoo, Robbie. Fucking shout out. So this took 3 days plus an extra day to go over stuff to make it pop.
Yep.
But that was 3 solid days. 1 day for outline. Second day was black. Third day was colour. And then he went over the colour again on another day just to make it stand out. But that was fucking
hard 3 days.
Deep, hard, fucking just grinding. Like the lighter ones, it's kind of like a lot less pressure. So they sort of just do the line work. But this one is just like 7 needles.
You know, what do you do at that time? Do you put on
I just
get
wish,
an iPad
wish for death.
Yeah.
Question all my life choices that brought me to that moment.
Yep.
Yeah. Sweat.
Yeah. Well, sweat. Yeah. Good. That's a good stress response, just to sweat.
Yeah.
And he's like, mate, we need to reapply the stencil because you're sweating so much.
You know, people that see me think I love tattoos or love pain, but every time I sit in that chair, I regret. 5 minutes in, I'm like, what am I doing back here? Am I fucking retarded? What have I done? Now I've got to sit here for another 6 hours.
No, the left one pops, mate. The right one you can probably
freshen up.
Freshen up, yeah. No, but it's good. But yeah, veteran games. So Heston Russell, Hesto, he himself had a wonderful matter in front of the ABC, in front of the courts for defamation.
Couple of extra bullet shots there.
Well, you know, as we all know now, edited content designed to
bit of bang bang.
Yeah, make it look like he was a war criminal. God, he's hilarious. I'm just thinking he did a podcast. He was talking about it, guys finding out that he was gay because they were rewatching combat footage and he has a gay hand when he runs. Like it flicks back behind him, and I was like, mate, that is not what I'd be worried about in the middle of a AAR or even a combat scenario. What are your priorities right now? But, you know, to his credit, all the guys, all the operators I've spoken to, you know, because I do a fair bit of work in all units, have said that he's just an absolutely fantastic guy and should have stayed in defence. But if you talk about, you know, his podcast, he explains why he didn't stay in. It's because that looking up moment was just admin. That's all he saw. It's just doing admin, no longer with the guys.
Yeah.
But he's gone off and started veteran games. It's a...
How did he start that?
Mate, that's all him. That's Veteran Support Force.
Oh, right.
So he started veteran games, I think 3 years ago now. I've volunteered for the first 2-3 years and then got roped into judging. Most of the judges are all his mates, so they're all...
How do you judge? Isn't it like whoever crosses the line first?
Yeah, so it's all time-based, and then they have plus points for communication, teamwork. And then you have a default time of, say, 15 or 10 minutes, and then they deduct whatever time you've done. So the goal is to actually get the lowest possible time, obviously. And then you add points for additional communication, and that comes up with the aggregate score. But he's started this, and it's now open, obviously, to civilians, so you can turn up with your workmates, your colleagues, you know, get a team of 2, 4, 5, whatever, you know, jump in, do some cool sort of military-focused activities.
Yeah.
It's pretty competitive. There's a whole bunch of defence-based sponsors there. You know, you've got RSL, you've got Mate, the last one was
Down
crazy.
the Goldie, is it?
So this year it's Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast, and Darwin, and then I think Gold Coast is the final. So I think there's 4 on this year. Don't quote me. So they've got like preliminary heats. So for people who want to sort of test it out but not actually come to the Gold Coast, they can just do it in their town.
Okay.
So, and it's also off to the UK. He's expanded off over to the UK. He's got a partner over there who's spooling that thing up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Like,
Yeah, I saw it last year for the first time, and I was spewing. I was like, fucking, how have I never heard of this? And everybody's down there.
yeah, well, because
I was spewing.
like, it's obviously not public. Like, it's not, you know, jump on TV and, oh, there's the Invictus Games.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is effectively,
It was,
it's like,
I think Jared was there last year.
yeah, he was the MC.
And then I saw it on his thing,
Yeah.
and I was like, how did I not know about this?
Yeah. So he was the MC, and that's, I think, the first event we actually met and actually did some talking. And he MC'd the entire day. So, you know, like there's different events going on, and he's just walking around the paddock with a microphone in a boombox, just blasting people.
Talking shit.
And there was some girl, her name leaves me. She jumped up and she did like, she did like 33 chin-ups or something. And one of the sponsors was donating like $50 per chin-up.
Yeah, right.
And then for like an hour of power, they donated $100 to like a veteran organisation for every chin-up. And this girl turned up and popped out 33. And Jared was just wrecking her in the background. It was like, you know, like just a chick doing 33 pull-ups. She's obviously staunched. Fantastic to see. Yeah, and funnily enough, what was I doing? I was there judging, and I threw him a packet of jerky because he was hungry. And then the next show that he went to was the Shell Shocked, and I popped backstage and gave him some more jerky. And then he had his show a week later, at which I went to, and because I had a bit of free time, I popped backstage again and gave him some jerky. So it's become a real common theme that I throw Jared Gowndry free jerky.
Why do you have jerky?
Just protein intake, mate. I don't know. Just
You're looking good. Here's some protein.
No, it was because I'm driving from Brisbane to the Gold Coast to do this event. Like I'm popping down at, I leave my place at like 6 a.m. I'm not going to carry like a full lunch. I'm not going to leave, you know, a Noomba Valley, which is like 45 k's from anywhere, to go get lunch. I'm just going to take jerky and White Foss monsters.
You're the jerky man.
And yeah, just had jerky on me, so he got jerky. Good dude. Good
Yeah.
dude.
No, I was spewing when I found out I was going to miss the Veteran Games again. I was like, fuck.
Well,
I booked a flight.
It's on. I think it's on the Sunshine Coast as well this year. So it's going to be Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, Darwin, and then.
Oh, then there'll be another one at another date.
Yeah. So it's running all the way through till September, October.
Gotcha. Well, that's fucking good then, because I can go to another one. Sweet as. That's
Veteran Games.
Good to know. Yeah, I'll be interviewing expats over in Thailand. To answer your question, what am I doing over there? I'm taking.
Oh, so it's not. It's actually not for tattooing.
No.
Oh, cool.
No, I'm taking. I've got some Osmo Pocket cameras, the little HD jobs, and some lapel mics. I was originally going to take 2 of these and 2 of those, and then I was like, how can I make this easier but keep the quality? So the little cameras and the little lapel mics should do close to the same job. Obviously, I won't have control of the lighting, but I want to make the same sort of quality just in hotel rooms over in Thailand.
Is that going to be there on a canvas sheet? Is that the...
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do about that because that's fucking too big and heavy. Yep. I might just, in the edit, put a thing
green
behind
screen.
us.
Yeah, rock on.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing over there. So that'll be good.
Done.
That's quite a story of...
I'm sorry to the listeners. No combat, nothing. Most boring lesson, most boring podcast ever.
But to be fair, what do we go? Like maybe 50-50, 60-40 combat that have seen some sort of combat. But no, that's what this podcast is for the everyday veteran. And you've got a fucking interesting story, dude. I love what you're doing in the community now and helping out in the legal system. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's not a very common thing to do.
I hope in 20 years' time people look back and go, you know, that was a good idea. That's the goal, you know.
What you're doing.
Yeah. I'm not aware of any other law firm that focuses on military law except for DVA claims. So that's the goal. Anyway.
No, good for you, dude. Well done.
Okay.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Bye.
Happy to be here.
The Grey Man Podcast is a veteran-run platform dedicated to sharing authentic experiences from current and former service members. These stories are shared to foster connection, understanding, and support within the veteran community. Episodes may contain raw, emotionally charged content that some listeners may find distressing. Listener discretion is advised. The views and opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the Grey Man Podcast, its host, or affiliated partners. The Grey Man Podcast assumes no liability for any statements, opinions, or representations made by guests during interviews or discussions.